Hello, everybody. Hello from Ljubljana, and welcome to Mobility Summit 2020, City as a Lab, organized by the main Slovenian newspaper Delo and AV Living Lab company. In these challenging times due to COVID-19 impacting everybody worldwide, we decided to organize a virtual conference. And as you can see, we are coming to you. We are very happy that so many registered, so this summit will make even better impact. And there is no excuse not to be here. And before start, I just want to say, good morning America, North and Latin, good day Europe, Middle East and Africa, and of course, good evening Asia and Pacific region. What the summit is about? It's about changes, but not only in mobility, what you will see today, but also in cities, aerospace, high-tech industry. Today, we are hosting brands and stakeholders from all these industries. 10 years ago, it would be unusual to have aerospace brand like Airbus or Boeing at Car Industry Summit. It would be so unusual to see cities like Ljubljana or Dubai or content providers to talk at automotive industry event. And now the facts. 20 plus speakers from 10 plus countries, 2 days, more than 7 hours of our very interesting and meaningful program and endless participants. Why? Because we are forced to search and develop new opportunities in the field of smart cities, mobility as a service, innovation, e-mobility, challenges of smart cities and car content, which will entertain and guide us while traveling. And as we have so much to say in this Mobility Summit, City as a Lab, I don't want to be too long. So let us start with welcome speeches from distinguished guests. And the first one, I want to say hello, is the Minister of Infrastructure of the Republic of Slovenia, Mr. Jernej Vrtovec, who will have the opening speech. Due to Slovenian protocol, the speech will be in Slovene with English subtitles. Mr. Vrtovec, good morning and welcome to Mobility Summit 2020.
Good morning. Spoštovane udeleženke in udeleženci dogodka City as a Lab Mobilnost 2020. V čast in veselje mi je, da vas lahko nagovorim v vlogi ministra za infrastrukturo. Dan danes bi si brez prometa namreč težko predstavljali naša življenja. Povezuje ljudi, mesta, kulture, države in celine. Je pomemben del naše družbe in gospodarstva, saj omogoča tako hitro in učinkovito delovanje podjetij, kot tudi lažji dostop do pomembnih javnih storitev, kot je denimo izobraževanje, s tem pa med drugim prispeva k bolj uravnoteženemu razvoju držav, ustvarjanju novih delovnih mest in večji blaginji za naše državljanke in državljane. V zadnjih letih v Evropi vedno bolj vstopa v ospredje zavedanje, da vsa večja rast transportnih storitev prinaša tudi vrsto negativnih vplivov na okolje. Bela knjiga o prometu iz leta 2011, ki jo je pripravila Evropska komisija, je tako pozvala, naj 30% tovornega prevoza po glavnih koridorjih do leta 2030 preide z cestnega na bolj trajnostne načine prevoza in 50% do leta 2050. V specifičnih priporočilih za Slovenijo za leto 2020 je Evropska komisija v mesecu maju izpostavila, da bodo naložbe za nadaljnji razvoj trajnostnega prometa ter za podporo javnemu potniškemu prometu in trajnostnim povezavam, zlasti železniškim, nujno potrebne za okrevanje gospodarstva. Kriza zaradi epidemije koronavirusa je namreč negativno vplivala na tovorni in tranzitni promet, ker se bo zlasti poznalo v gospodarski rasti države, saj je promet poleg turizma eden najpomembnejših sektorjev slovenskega gospodarstva. Pomembnosti trajnostnih oblik mobilnosti, ki zajemajo hojo, kolesarjenje, uporabo javnega potniškega prometa in alternativne oblike mobilnosti, se zelo dobro zavedamo tudi na našem Ministrstvu za infrastrukturo. Za letošnjim julijem smo uvedli tako brezplačni medkrajevni javni potniški prevoz za upokojence, imetnike invalidske evropske kartice, vojne veterane in vse starejše od 65 let. Vesel sem zelo pozitivnega odziva upravičencev, saj smo do danes izdali že 130.755 vozovnic. In že takoj ob nastopu mandata smo namreč prepoznali integrirani javni potniški promet kot vzorčen primer dobre integracije prevoznih storitev v državi in začeli z aktivnostmi in vsemi pripravami za nadaljnje nadgradnje sistema, ki bodo šle predvsem v smeri digitalizacije storitev ter še intenzivnejšega približevanja vseh storitev javnega potniškega prometa vsem uporabnikom. Z ekipo na Ministrstvu za infrastrukturo smo v preteklih mesecih pripravili tudi spremembe zakona o pravilih cestnega prometa, v katerem smo med lahka motorna vozila opredelili tudi električne skiroje, ki so že močno v uporabi kot alternativna oblika mobilnosti zlasti v mestih. Prav tako smo v tretjem paketu zakona o interventnih ukrepih za omilitev in odpravo posledic epidemije COVID-19 določili seznam 187 pomembnih infrastrukturnih projektov, pri katerih bomo z gradnjo začeli že v naslednjih letih in tako pozitivno vplivali na gospodarsko rast v Republiki Sloveniji. Prav tako smo zelo veseli, da bo po več kot 50 letih kmalu ponovno za potniški promet odprta železniška povezava iz Kočevja preko Ribnice pa do Ljubljane. Gre za zelo pomembno pridobitev, ki bo prispevala k zmanjšanju zastojev na cestah ter k čistejšemu okolju. Spoštovani, mislim, da se vsi zelo dobro zavedamo, da brez različnih prevoznih sredstev, ki so ključnega pomena tako za gospodarstvo kot tudi za družbo, ne moremo. Hkrati se pa moramo tudi zavedati, da mora prometni sektor v Evropski uniji izkoristiti vse priložnosti, ki jih ponuja digitalizacija. V prihodnosti bomo morali zato v večji meri razvijati in spodbujati nove poslovne modele, ki temeljijo na digitalni tehnologiji, ter poskrbeti za inovativnejši, trajnosten, konkurenčnejši in čistejši sektor cestnega prometa. Torej, v okviru dogodka City SLAP vam želim uspešne in zanimive razprave. Hvala, vse dobro vam želim in srečno.
Thank you very much, Minister Vrtovec, for your encouraging thoughts. It will be relevant for you and your business to be able to move forward and to understand what your role in mobility industry is. And now I would like to welcome the Mayor of Ljubljana, Mr. Zoran Janković. Good morning, Mr. Janković. Good morning, the most beautiful city. Mr. Janković, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dobro jutro, spoštovane udeleženke, udeleženci tega kongresa. V vsakem mestu je najbolj pomembno vprašanje kvaliteta življenja meščanov, meščank in tisti, ki pridejo v mesto. In eden od pomembnih faktorjev v kvaliteti življenja je tudi mobilnost. Jaz sem ponosen na to, da je Ljubljana zelena prestolnica Evrope. To smo dobili v konkurenci 5 finalistov in smo edino zelena prestolnica Evrope v tem delu Evrope. Vsi ostali zmagovalci prihajajo z severa in zahoda Evrope. Če se pa vrnem na mobilnost, smo naredili nekaj ukrepe, ki so za vzgled mnogim mestom po Evropi in tudi vnaprej se bomo trudili, da bomo vodilni med tistimi, ki uvajajo nove mobilnostne koncepte v mestih. Najprej smo zaprli center mesta za promet, dobili 12 hektarjev peščeve površine in to je bil ukrep, v katerega so malo njih verjeli. Danes je pa tako dobro sprejet, da če bi hotel spremeniti to nazaj v promet, ne bi dobil soglasja meščanov. Ob tem, v vsaki cesti, ki na novo delamo tudi drevorede, kajti nujno je, da imamo zelena drevesa, kajti ta drevesa pomenijo boljši zrak in tudi v času pandemije smo videli, kaj planet rabi, da preživi. In če že govorimo naprej o mobilnosti, uvedli smo nove avtobuse na plin, od 218 avtobusov, ki jih imamo v mestnem prometu, jih je več kot 100, ki jih oskrbujemo s plinom. se pravi, da skrbimo za čist zrak. Naslednji korak bo, da tudi uvedemo električne avtobuse, pri čemer želimo, da imamo svojo električno energijo, ki bomo sami proizvajali z sončnimi celicami in bomo to koristili za polnjenje avtobusov. Kar je treba izpostaviti, imamo tudi car share, ker je izjemno pomemben. Podjetje, ki se s tem ukvarja, ima čez 100 lokacij v Ljubljani in ta električna vozila nadomeščajo mnoge zasebne avtomobile, nekateri že prodajo drugi in tretji avto in se koristijo tudi ta car share. In sodelovanje med zasebnim podjetjem in mestom je na tem izjemno pomembno. Treba je tudi povedati, da pri tem mobilu se veliko odleže tudi bicikl. Po mnenju lastnika tega projekta smo po številu uporab koles na dan na prvem mestu v Evropi, tam, kjer imajo bicikl. Mi imamo že 63 postajališč bicikla, 630 koles, ampak naš plan je, da pridemo do 80, s tem bomo pokrili večji del mesta. In tudi naprej širimo peščeve površine, tako da Ljubljana postaja vedno bolj prijazna za uporabnike, se pravi za najstarejše, za najmlajše, kajti tam, ker ni avtomobilskega prometa, je zelo enostavno zagotoviti varnost. Vsako šolo smo uvedli tudi varno pot in ta varna pot zagotavlja spet za pešce, kolesarje, da lahko naše učenke in učenci pridejo do šole. Torej, trdim, da se lahko v Ljubljani mnogo naučite, trdim, da ste tu dobrodošli in to bomo dokazali s svojo prijaznostjo, svojo strokovnostjo in pa predvsem uživajte v najlepšem mestu na svetu. Srečno!
Thank you, Mr. Janković. We hope that Ljubljana will not only be the most beautiful city, but also the smartest city. And now, dear guests of the Mobility Summit City as a Lab, the world is on the crossroad of major changes. It is up to us which way these changes will go, or I can say it is also up to the media which way these changes will go. The media play a bigger role than ever. So, before the first panel of the Smart Cities, we are honored to have here the first, but not the last member of Media House Delo, Mr. Stojan Petrić, Chairman of the Supervisory Board of Media House Delo and Corporation Collector Group, who will offer the welcome speech. Mr. Petrić, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, Petra, and thank you very much. Dear Minister, dear Mayor, dear guests, we live in a time when our society is facing the environmental and climate challenges, fast technology developments, and the need to provide a certain quality of living for all humankind. Of course, there are many segments that need to be addressed. But as we speak today about the mobility is certainly one of the segments that touches all these points. It is our need to be mobile. It is our need to move. Transportation and industries related to it, as automotive, airline, railway industries were always the leaders of technological development and industrialization. But they are also recognized today as one of the main polluters, with their impact growing day by day. This is the reason why segments now, and even more in the future, we feel a big pressure to change. This is the reason why we need to give more thought to the transportation. This is the reason why talk about the mobility as a new segments implementing new technologies, developing new business models. The development of mobility is strongly related to alternative fuels. Today, mostly electricity, in the future also hydrogen. It is strongly related to new technologies that will allow us a smart structure, convenient mobility, and also autonomous cars in the future. And it is strongly related to the development of smart cities, smart societies, providing a clean, efficient, and convenient mobility for everybody, so that new business models are as car sharing, multimodality, and others. And these are all of the topics, and we will discuss during the conference. It is important how we address the challenges. It is important how fast we will move. I believe the change will come faster than we think today. Therefore, I'm really looking forward to this conference, and I wish It will help you get new information, new contacts, new answers to address your business challenges successfully in the future.
Changes will come. We already face them in our new everyday life. But yes, you are right, Mr. Petric. The question is, what kind of changes? We will see, and of course, we hope for the best. Mr. Petric, thank you for your words. Please stay with us. I suppose that our next guest, Mr. Andrej Kren, General Manager of Delo Media Company, will tell us that good media, which newspaper Delo is, will be co-creator of good changes. Mr. Kren, welcome to the summit.
I believe we will. Thank you. Dear Minister of the Infrastructure, Mr. Jernej Vrtovec, dear Mayor of the City of Ljubljana, Mr. Zoran Jankovic, dear Chairman of the Advisory Board of Company Delo, Mr. Stojan Petric, dear panelists and all other participants in the virtual business conference organized by the media house Delo and AV Living Lab. City as a Lab, Mobility 2020, is a two-day event that combines two mobility events from 2019, Delo's conference Mobility 2019 and City as a Lab Summit 2019, organized by AV Living Lab. Allow me to briefly present the two companies. Delo is one of the leading and most influential media houses in Slovenia that provides quality contents and is an important public opinion shaper in Slovenia and across the border. Its printed editions, websites, and applications reach practically all segments of readers, from teenagers to centenarians, from factory workers to university professors, and so on. The total reach of all platforms of the company Delo in the first 7 months of this year was approximately 808,000 unique users on average per month, who in the same period generated over 60 million page views on average per month. Among Slovenian publishers, Delo ranked third in terms of the number of unique users and fourth in terms of page views in July this year, according to the most measurements of visits of web pages of the news publishers in Slovenia. AV Living Lab provides development, pilot testing, and implementation of new technologies and business models in a live environment for Slovenian and foreign customers. Their focus is on mobility combined with the energy sector, fintech, trade, and information technology. It participates in different European projects and shares its know-how with the participants at the events organized at home and abroad. With a said event, both co-organizers proactively react to the technological changes in the broader environment and thus take part in their creation. The title of this year's International Business Conference is Co-Creating Mobility. The speakers who came before me have already presented some topics for discussion from their points of view. I believe that both panelists and lecturers will shed more light on the issue of smart city development, provision of mobility services, various mobility innovations, the rise of e-mobility, and last but not least, the provision of different multimedia contents to travelers in self-driving vehicles of the future, each from their own perspective. I hope that all participants in the City as a Lab Mobility 2020 conference learn many new things that will help them in their everyday and development work and establish many new contacts through virtual networking during the breaks between individual panels. On behalf of both co-organizers, I would like to thank all sponsors that supported the implementation of this two-day event, particularly the general sponsor, company Petrol from Slovenia. Thank you.
So let's co-create new and better future now. Mr. Kren from Media House Delo, thank you very much. So let's move to our next topic, which is smart cities. And just for your information, this event is organized by two organizations. People from Media House Delo already met. And the second co-organizer is the company AV Living Lab. So, hello, Mr. Daniel Audagic. How are you?
Great.
Okay, so Daniel is CEO and founder in AV Living Lab. But anyway, for people who don't know you, can you please share something about you, please?
Of course. Well, I am passionate about the new mobility. My background is telco, coming from telecommunications to automotive. And I'm leading a team of experts at AV Living Lab. And together, we are co-creating new mobility solutions in our real-life living lab. It is a true city as a lab, where the leading brands like Google, Daimler, Magna, Toyota, and Volkswagen concern are building the future products and services.
Daniel, many people have very different ideas about the concept of smart cities. Please, could you share with me and, of course, with our audience the breaking point of this concept of smart cities?
Yes, so today in our Smart City panel, we will host 3 brands. And what they will share is this crossroad of different industries to create future cities. So what we will have the leading energy company called Petrol talking about the infrastructure, the electric infrastructure that we need to build. Then it will be followed up by leading cities who will explain how they are introducing this new mobility concept. And at the end, we will have the company Airbus sharing it with us how they will use traveling in third dimension, and they will talk about air taxis in urban air mobility.
And then we have aerospace company Airbus, as you said, becoming a new mobility provider in the city. What is the concept of this company, Daniel?
Yeah, so the new thing is that imagine an aerospace company being in automotive event. So it's about urban air mobility. So we will talk about the new solutions driven by emerging technologies that will impact cities and make cities more affordable and accessible for all.
I'm hardly waiting to say hello to the first speaker to talk. And I use this opportunity to once again thank to all these brands. As you know, this conference is free of charge to have the highest possible impact. And of course, it wouldn't be possible without sponsors. I'd like to thank to our general sponsor, the company Petrol, for supporting us. Thank you, Petrol. So, Mr. Jože Bajuk, the member of the management board of company Petrol, welcome.
Good day. The trend of city development leads towards the development of smart and cognitive societies that not only follow technological development, but competently use it to establish an environment that is friendly to the inhabitants and the economy and responsive to needs in particular. The mix of different policies and sizes also makes cities an excellent testing range for a combination of comprehensive services for energy management, the digitalization of infrastructure systems, and the efficient, sustainable use of energy and water. On one of the key strategic development paths for the Petrol company is a comprehensive energy supply, focusing on efficient energy use and the responsible handling of sources. This is a concept leading to the circular economy, which the EU is also striving for. We are investing in the projects of energy efficiency and renewable energy sources as drivers of development, and we guarantee that energy savings are achieved. According to UN, the human population will have increased to 9.8 billion by 2050, of which 68% will live in urban societies. Without changing our habits, the energy requirements will increase by 80% and water requirements by 55%. The OECD projections predict a 90% increase of SO2 emissions and 50% of NOx. Today, only 2% of the world population lives in an acceptable concentration of PM10 particles. According to OECD, polluted air will be the main cause of premature mortality in the future. In Petrol, we see the solution in changing people's habits and process automation with the aim of reducing the energy and water demand and the environmental load. We are focusing on our energy, on the smart management of the public infrastructure systems. Our solutions are based on digitalization, reliable and checked information, and the efficient use of energy. If cities want to manage their resources more efficiently and improve their carbon footprint, they need reliable information about energy and water consumption and then transparent insight into the condition of their infrastructure. Petrol helps take advantage of all of the key information available to the cities. To do this, we rely on the already installed sensor systems and add new systems if necessary. Key information is available to all interested stakeholders through our technology platform. This means that information about energy consumption in public buildings and local infrastructure efficiency, such as the water supply network, district heating network, public lighting, etc., can be accessed by the city's government's public utility management as well as residents. Based on true information about the consumption and costs, the possibilities of greater savings also increase. Smart management of public infrastructure system is achieved in several ways. First example is by using smart remote energetic systems where costs are optimized to gain savings by reducing the environmental loads while also maintaining the comfort level for end consumers. Another example is by efficient water management, where we ensure a lower required water drawing from the environment due to reduced losses of water in the distribution phase. We are improving the operational efficiency of water supply systems and take care of their economical planning. We also clean the wastewater using technological solutions to a level where the water can be released in the environment. With the projects involving the energy renovation of buildings, where we take care of the optimal energy and water consumption in buildings, and with projects for the energy renovation of public lighting that contributes to lower light pollution in municipalities, which are consequently able to save more than 70% of their electric energy. Efficient lighting with smart lights also bring further potential with the functionalities of directing smart current and decay points. By developing new transportation options, we help with transition to cost-effective and sustainable mobility. In this field, we provide services related to building management and the maintenance of the charging infrastructure for electric vehicles and services related to the provision and accounting for the charging and customer support. In the field of mobility services, we are developing services related to the new concepts and forms of mobility, such as vehicle as a service. Following the successful acquisition of the ATED company, the list of services we provide in market also includes short-term vehicle rental in the form door-to-door service. The development of a fleet management service is underway. In 2020, we continue to work on all 3 international projects that have also received non-repayable EU grants. A special significance of Petrol's presence as a leading company in the field of electromobility and mobility services is building an image of sustainable-oriented company. For this purpose, a lot of efforts has been put into including as many domestic and international projects as possible. The international projects, in particular, are a major but important challenge for the company that primarily originates in the field of oil derivatives sales. As Quashline Center partners, we made sure with comprehensive energy solution that there is a vision of sustainable approaches and niche energy solutions combined in the building. Solar power plants, heat pump solution, LED lighting and charging station for electric vehicles. For example, we help plan and build e-charging station and fleet modernization. We are also developing solutions for greater energy self-supply in communities, such as the Luce project, where the community is able to cover all its electric energy needs by itself on the basis of RES production. Thanks to the Compile project part of Horizon 2020 EU program, the village is completely energy self-sufficient in certain time periods. By including renewable energy sources, greater system flexibility is needed, which can be ensured by connecting dispersed generating process and consumers. Adjusting the electricity consumption and generation increases system stability and reliability. The interconnected resources behave like a unit, while in the background, the surplus energy is managed and stored, and the needs are appropriately addressed based on the forecasts and more. Our solution is upgraded and connected to the unique TANGO OT IoT platform. By using artificial intelligence, we can maintain the quality of our lives in a satisfactory level, reduce the environmental impact, and preserve the planet in acceptable condition. TANGO allows vast quantities of data to be collected from different sources, their checking, processing, storing, and visualization with the purpose of turning the data into useful information. Using quality data and advanced algorithms for machine learning and artificial intelligence, TANGO ensures control and optimal processes, lower costs, and environmental load. We can say in general that the future potential is particularly in the combination of energy services, especially from perspective of comprehensive energy and system management, from managing the water supply, system and water treatment plants, and industrial energy installation to district heating and electrical energy generation from renewable sources. Petrol has been successfully increasing the energy efficiency level for quite some time now, while significantly contributing to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. In the future, the energy supply will no doubt be even less dirty, less wasteful, greener, and digitally connected through different platforms in a larger set of systems. These systems will need to communicate clearly between each other to be able to ensure the uninterrupted operation of the entire electricity system. We are well aware of this at Petrol, and we are not forgetting the importance of cooperating with the social environment where we operate and live. We are building strategic partnerships with all the relevant stakeholders, including them in the development of new business models in the provision of our sustainable services. We are returning the energy for life to the society and intensively moving towards a new green future.
Wow, great. Thank you. As you heard, Mr. Bayuk mentioned several times cities. So what are cities really doing for the future of mobility? And what kind of development plans cities have in their mind? For these answers, I welcome Dr. Noah Refford from Dubai Future Foundation. Dr. Noah Refford is the Chief of Global Affairs, Futurist-in-Chief at Dubai Future Foundation and former advisor on futures foresight and innovation in the UAE Prime Minister's office. Mr. Refford will share insights from Dubai's self-driving strategy to make soon autonomous vehicle reality. So, Dr. Refford, could you please share with us your amazing projects?
Great, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for convening such a special event from participants around the world, helping to make a better future for our cities and our entrepreneurial ecosystems in the mobility space. It's a real pleasure to be here. As mentioned, my name is Dr. Noah Refford. I'm the Futurist-in-Chief and the Chief of Global Affairs for an organization which is somewhat special, the Dubai Future Foundation. We're kind of a mix between the Prime Minister's office or the Mayor's office, DARPA, and Disney, or Technology Incubator. So our job is to try to help people imagine what new, better futures might be like, combining emerging technologies and new business models and new ways of doing things, and how that might then intersect with existing regulations and policies and visions to try to create sustainable mobility systems going forward. You may have heard Dubai is often referred to as a city of the future. I think that is a moniker which is quite true. As a city and the country of the UAE itself, it has experienced extraordinary growth over the last 40 years. But in Dubai in particular, the most of the growth has occurred in the last 20 years. And this has really been an exponential increase in infrastructure development and institutionalization of systems and services, and has led to cement Dubai's position as one of the most modern cities, not just in the region, but in the world. But the infrastructure and skills which have helped us develop over the last 20 years into this position of a global integrator of goods and services and ideas and capital are exactly the kind of things which we need when we look forward to the challenges of the next 20 years as well. So that's our job in the Dubai Future Foundation, to try to help explore what does the next 20 years look like. Because I think we can all agree that the pace of change is not slowing down. In fact, it's accelerating and getting more complex. The amount of challenges are only increasing, and their interaction is getting more intense. So as we look forward to the kind of infrastructure investment scale projects that are required for fast-moving cities, or for retrofitting our old cities to be fit for purpose for the new technologies and business models of tomorrow, we really have to have a long-term view and start to have a point of view for how we address these rapid changes. The foundation itself, as I mentioned, we sit in a very privileged position. We're a wholly government-owned foundation, so we're not a government agency. But as you can see from this slide, we work to integrate via our board all of the major Dubai government departments and entities, as well as the major state-owned enterprises like Emirates Airlines, and many of the federal initiatives like the Ministry, the Prime Minister's Office, the Ministry of Education, the police, etc. So each of these agencies and entities has a very fantastic strategy team, and in some cases, innovation or foresight team internally, helping them diagnose what the future of their sector looks like. But our job is to integrate all of these different teams and all of these different opportunities to try to have a holistic view on the future. This is a really exciting opportunity because it gives us the ability to interface with international partners as a sort of single port of call for people who are interested in exploring prototypes or proof of concepts, or even just ideas or visions or strategies in their sector, in their business. The foundation itself, we do this across a range of activities. We have around 130 full-time employees. This is not that important, but the key point for partners here is that we are this test bed for emerging technologies, particularly what we like to call pre-legal technology. These are technologies which aren't explicitly illegal, but they're just not regulated yet. And so it's therefore important to have a regulatory partner who can keep pace with your vision and enable and authorize, if not actually accelerate, your mobility goals. This all started for us about 5 years ago, as I'm going to walk you through several of the projects that we have had the privilege to work on with our partners in Dubai government, in the private sector, and with various startups. It also help paint a picture of what Dubai's view on the future of mobility is. It's not just self-driving vehicles. It's a holistic solution from small-scale goods and autonomous drone delivery all the way up to some quite big, exciting ideas, which I'll share with you. So as I mentioned, it started about 5 years ago with a very small solution to a very small problem. How do we take advantage of consumer drone technology to improve people's lives? And we did this through something called a Drones for Good award, which was the first challenge of its kind, an international competition where we offered $1 million for companies, students, or anyone around the world to submit prototypes or ideas for how they could use drones to deliver medicine, to provide critical emergency services. And what was interesting about this is we didn't have any rules or regulations for drone flight at the time. Of course, it was being used in security contexts, but for civilian or commercial uses, there was no infrastructure for it. So by bringing together over 5,000 different companies from 60 different countries, we were able to not only get a sense for who was active in the industry, but help our regulators and government understand what was the kind of regulation that needed to be written in order to facilitate this kind of innovation. You can see this as a way of kind of developing regulation through prototyping with our partners. And this was quite successful, thankfully, and then led to perhaps the main topic of this panel, which is Dubai's self-driving vehicle strategy. Now, Dubai is a very car-intensive place, and when we started to explore the future of autonomous transport, self-driving vehicles, with the Director General of the Road Transportation Authority, let's just say that it required a certain degree of convincing that this was something that could actually happen. And so by bringing together different partners, at the time, everyone from Waymo, when I was back at Google X, to a variety of other vendors, we started to explore what this might mean for Dubai's urban planning investment infrastructure. And out of that learning journey, we developed with the Road Transportation Authority the autonomous transport strategy. And that, I think, is unique in the world because it commits 25% of every single trip to be autonomous by the year 2030. So that's 10 years from now. It's quite an ambitious strategy. And the Road Transportation Authority, who is the actual government department responsible for implementing these strategies and for setting the rules and facilitating the investment infrastructure for this, has taken this forward in a very exciting way, which I'll share with you in a moment. But it didn't end there. The RTA in particular was quite keen on how do we explore aerial urban mobility. Dubai is a long, spread out city. It has relatively stable, albeit warm temperatures most of the year. And so in some respects, it's the perfect test bed for starting to explore what flying taxi solutions might be like. So again, in the spirit of working with partners to prototype our way into an understanding of the best regulations and investment infrastructure, the Road Transportation Authority developed a partnership originally with EHang, a Chinese drone company that turned out to be quite a useful way of kickstarting the process, and then working with ourselves through one of our accelerator programs, developed an urban air mobility policy framework with Uber Elevate, and then has been working with a variety of different partners to explore actual implementations of such a service and hopes to pilot that quite soon. Also, next generation kinds of mobility beyond just single family or small type of car solutions is key to our long-term mobility vision. You may have heard the news early on, this is probably about 3 years ago now, where we brought Hyperloop One, which was later rebranded as Virgin Hyperloop One, to Dubai into the UAE through our accelerator program, connected them up with the Road Transportation Authority, and then helped them develop not just a feasibility study and a market study, but a full-scale engineering study to try to understand if Hyperloop One was an appropriate technology, or indeed any Hyperloop technology. And that has then spread throughout the region. They're active in Saudi and India now. And so Dubai has helped to provide this kind of kickstart or the springboard for these next generation pre-legal technologies of mobility to actually find the market fit. You know, we're getting from the very small drones to self-driving vehicles and a network of systems there, all the way up to the biggest. You know, Dubai itself is a major hub for integrating passenger transport and cargo transport via Emirates and the UAE as a whole. And this sector itself, even before COVID, was subject to disruption. I'm sure you've seen Elon Musk in Spaceship One, as well as Jeff Bezos' work. Whilst these kinds of low Earth orbit passenger transport technologies might be 20 years away in the future, the reality is when you're talking about infrastructure and policy investments, that is the timescale you actually have to consider. So we did a variety of studies with the Airports Authority here to try to understand how low Earth orbit hops between Shanghai and London or Dubai and Brazil and Sao Paulo in 3 or 4 hours might totally transform the mobility landscape at scale. Now, I mentioned we do this in the foundation with our partners. The key partner that you might be most interested in is the Roads and Transportation Authority, who are really the champions of this self-driving and mobility system in Dubai. In 2019, they launched something called the Dubai World Challenge for Self-Driving Transport, which explored a variety of different use cases. First and last mile connection, autonomous transportation around cargo and delivery services, the infrastructure necessary to support these, as well as marine innovation as well. And in 2019, we had a variety of quite exciting winners, everything from Navia to Gafsan to Sensible 4 in the big company space, in the startup space, as well as in the academic partner space as well. And RTA is hosting the Self-Driving Congress again, October 2021. And the challenge will run again, focusing on the next round, it's been now almost 2 years later, of innovation in these key spaces, from durable transport systems to energy efficient to the best customer experience, the best technological infrastructure. Now, the point I'm trying to get across here is that Dubai has really distinguished itself as a test bed for these kinds of emerging technologies, particularly if, as is often the case with transport, you need to interface with regulated sectors and with a regulatory body. We've tried to do everything we can to facilitate and streamline that process, from actual proof of concepts and tests to developing strategies with industry partners, to actually creating a constitution and cabinet level exemption process through something we call the Regulations Lab, which lets us write short-term or temporary laws to test out things which would enable things like insurance and dispute regulation to be facilitated in a more easy fashion. So it's a very short whirlwind tour. What I'm trying to communicate here is that there are very few places in the world where we have such a progressive, full spectrum regulatory support for innovation. And it's not just because this is the right thing to do or this is cool. It's because we have to, for existential reasons, prototype and test these solutions out. not just in Dubai, but for the world. As we're facing a climate crisis, as we're facing resource constraints, not least of which the economic crisis that COVID is likely to continue to cause, we have to use our resources smarter, we have to collaborate more, and we have to do so wherever we can actually do it fastest and best. So thank you for having us here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of what our point of view on a holistic future mobility system for fast-growing cities might look like, and also for the invitation to invite you to come to Dubai and test your solution out, either with us in the Foundation, the Roads Transportation Authority, or any of our major partners. Thank you. Speak to you very soon, I hope.
So we heard how cities are driving the changes. Now it is time to hear how companies like aerospace company Airbus see their role in the new coming urban air mobility and how they can make it real. With us today is Mr. Vasilis Agouridas. He is leading the EU public co-creation and ecosystem outreach activities at Airbus Urban Mobility. So, Mr. Agouridas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Petra, for the introduction. For the purposes of my presentation, I will touch on 3 points about Airbus and why urban air mobility fits with our purpose, more details about urban air mobility, and the role of cities and regions. Airbus is a global leader in aerospace sector, operating in the commercial aircraft, helicopters, and defense space markets. And as you know, the company is a leader in designing, manufacturing, and delivering aerospace products, services, and solutions to customers worldwide. So ultimately, our purpose is to pioneer sustainable aerospace for safe and united world. This means we have to continuously strive for leadership on environmental initiatives and providing continuing added value for society in the future. So, for example, thanks to technological innovation, a new mobility solution, namely urban air mobility, is on the brink of taking to the skies above cities to offer a sustainable complement, as we will see later on, to ground transportation. But are cities and city inhabitants ready to welcome such a dramatic shift in the mobility mix? Urban mobility is a key challenge for smart cities around the world. In Sao Paulo, for example, it takes 2 hours from the airport to the city center versus 10 minutes by helicopter. Mobility solution in smart cities is the key challenge for every local authority. Multimodality, intermodality, mobility as a service are the key buzzwords and the drivers of the solutions we try to develop. Air mobility, however, it is not considered as part of it. We have to consider urban air mobility not as a competitive mode, but as a mobility mode that complements the existing infrastructure. It's about walk, ride, drive, and fly. It is not just about flying. A series of new technologies and business models will allow us to rethink aerospace radically, to rethink about the contribution of urban innovation to society. Ranging from distributed electrical propulsion to new structural concepts to advanced business model, connected passenger, all these converging technologies can make urban air mobility a reality. At Airbus, we have been focusing on the development of 2 technology demonstrators. City Airbus and Vahana are testing different technology bricks such as electrical power and autonomous flight. More specifically, City Airbus is designed as a 4-seater, electrically powered, 8-rotor aircraft that can take off and land vertically. Vahana was a single-passenger, all-electric, fully autonomous, vertical takeoff and landing demonstrator. We need to acknowledge that the eVTOLs, the vehicles, is only one part of the UAM story. We need to have a systems approach across the whole value chain, an ecosystem approach to the emergence and development of urban air mobility. It is not just the vehicle. So we have seen from the previous slides the progress in terms of technology and business thinking for bringing urban air mobility into cities, and in fact be in a position to claim that urban traffic goes to the third dimension. And a lot of work is ongoing today, now, around the world between the different technical communities and policy regulatory communities on how we can make this safe and secure. We have to acknowledge at the same time that this urban element of the urban air mobility implies more than just improved levels of safety and security. Especially from the city perspective, it is about addressing new and existing challenges in terms of airspace management, for example, about new infrastructure required for aviation, for mobility, and the interface of these two different sectors. It is about the new businesses and the new services that will be available to the citizens and the new business models in order to ensure that these are sustainable and affordable. It is about new policy, a new mindset for policy making, and the whole approach and process of policy making to be more agile, to be able to encompass the continuously upcoming technologies for urban mobility. So all of these challenges have been the topic of the initiative in the context of the EIP-SEC that Airbus has been proud to lead and facilitate for the last 3 years. It is a community and the voice of 42 cities and regions across 14 countries in Europe, including Slovenia and the city of Ljubljana, and the aim has been to put forward a city-centric, citizen needs-driven approach to UAM. The key message has been, so far, that public and private actors have to take responsibility. Every one of us, whether an institution, a city, a company, a community, is a valuable partner who holds the power to express what we want the technology to do for us. So I'm looking forward to the upcoming panel with our colleagues from Petrol, the city of Dubai, and the city of Ljubljana to further elaborate on the topic. Thank you.
Mr. Agoridas, thank you for your time, for being with us, and for your interesting words. I'm sure that just like me, the audience of Summit City as a Lab has many questions. So let's move with roundtable with hot topic, creating a world without traffic jams, where you are invited to write chat questions. However, the house rules will be explained by the moderator of our first roundtable, Mr. Daniel Audagic. So please, Daniel, the time is yours.
Hey all, thank you, Petra, for this introduction. And let me start with our first roundtable. So before we start, I would introduce our panelists. So let me start with Mr. Edward Krančević from company Petrol. So Mr. Edward started his career as an engineer in the field of industry automation. Later, he was working for the Institute Jožef Stefan, and today at Petrol, he leads the business area of energy solution in industry. I would also like to present two keynote speakers who already spoke earlier, Dr. Noah Rafford from Dubai Future Foundation and Dr. Vasilis Argouridas from Airbus, that you had chance to meet at their keynotes prior to this roundtable. So, dear audience, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to send them in the chat, so our panelists may answer them at the end of the roundtable. And now, let's start. Our world is becoming more and more urban. We live more and more on the planet of cities. For example, 56% of our population lives in urban areas today. But that's nothing compared what will come by 2050, when this percentage will increase to almost 70%. So as you can imagine, this trend presents a huge challenge for cities to better and wiser manage their infrastructure, space services, and, for example, energy distribution. And that is why on today's roundtable, we will discuss new approaches to make cities more sustainable, accessible, livable for citizens and the globe. So, Mr. Ewald, could you please explain your approach in providing a holistic, integrated, multimodal, and almost all-in-one solution to help cities better manage resources?
Good morning, and thank you for your question. So we are coming back to the main question, how to manage cities. By that I mean data, resources, infrastructure, services, if you like. So the question is, what is our vision in this context? All those systems are traditionally managed with partial solution, or in some cases, even not managed at all. And this always was a challenge, but we have developed an answer to this challenge. So an efficient, reliable data manager platform with open architecture, and we are calling it TANGO. Solutions which are based on digitalization, by that I mean reliable and trusted information, in combination with efficient use of energy, can help cities to manage their resources in a more efficient and a more efficient way to improve their carbon footprint. As a Petrol, we are using this tool as a support tool for all of our projects. And in this way, we are way more competitive. And we manage our project in a more efficient way. Tango's smart management enables stakeholders to answer the challenges of sustainable development, and as well, they can increase the satisfaction of their end users. That is to create better, creative, and self-learning living environment.
Thank you. Yes, Petrol is the leading energy retail and mobility provider in Southeast Europe, and we are going to another leading city, which is a great example of rapid urbanization development over the last 30 years. So, Dr. Noach, could you please elaborate more your approach for testing prototyping, especially pre-legal technologies before they become a reality?
Sure, Daniel, it's a pleasure, and thank you so much on behalf of Dubai and all my colleagues here for having us in this exciting summit. I couldn't agree more with the previous speaker, and all of the keynotes were really insightful. The reality is, as the world population is getting denser and denser and more urban, the kinds of challenges that we face from a city government perspective are going to get more and more intense. And we're fully confident that we can develop solutions for this. But one of my job titles is the futurist in chief at the Dubai Future Foundation. And one of the jobs of the futurist is not just to predict the car, but as they say, to also predict the traffic jam. So of course that's a metaphor, but we can only, as we begin to explore these integrated mobility systems, we can only predict so far into the future. We might be able to, for example, anticipate some of the benefits and opportunities that aerial mobility might provide. But as these things begin to interact in a more complex way, you can never predict it. So therefore, our strategy has been to focus on actual experimentation and prototyping. So to learn as rapidly as possible by doing it with our partners. And we really feel that actually through action is the only way that you can gain the knowledge necessary to effectively regulate and set up a kind of learning regulatory environment that will allow you not only to handle the challenges of today, but also the secondary challenges that the solutions to the problems of today present, and so on and so forth going forward. So that's really what's behind our approach to helping make Dubai a living lab, to invite partners from around the world to test out these ideas that ultimately have people's lives at stake. It's about safety, it's about security. And so therefore having a regulatory partner that can support this is essential in these sorts of pre-legal spaces, as we say. It's not technically illegal, it's just not legal yet.
Oh, yeah, great, thank you. So from leading city to leading aerospace company, Airbus, so Dr. Vasilis, you're working with European cities on defining the framework to make urban air mobility a reality soon. Could you please share what are the key challenges for cities in Europe?
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, Airbus has been proud to lead the UM initiative of the European Innovation Partnership on Smart Cities for the last 3 years. And in fact, we have been in the lines that Noah just outlined, the need to experiment. We need to have the cities to become the real living lab, as the title of your summit, because there is high uncertainty here. Not that much on the actual technological front. We see more or less what it will be available. What is the rather unknown? It is how this will interact with the wider urban mobility fabric. And in fact, as we're discussing now, we are working all together to understand how we as a society collectively, we want to use this type of the technology. We want to avoid a sort of technology intrusion, and we can admit, I think, that the case of the car, it could be considered such a case. And why I say that is because everybody started to use cars, and now cities are taking cars out. We have seen the discussions from the city of Ljubljana, even at Dubai as part of the urban mobility policy. There are considerations how to do shared mobility and so on. So I think here with the urban air mobility, we have the chance of applying lessons learned and through intensive experimentation to find the good uses of this technology for our society. So in a responsible way to introduce that.
Yes.
Why also I like a lot the approach I have heard about this pre-legal innovation, because as I outlined during my presentation, we need more agile policy frameworks and the regulatory authorities to be able to embrace and compass this type of technologies. Does not mean to use them, but we need to have this mindset of experimentation.
Yes. So the concept of living labs is quite key for open innovation platform. And of course, urban air mobility will bring also new nodes or new opportunities for energy distribution network with all these new vertiport and helipads.
So I would like to clarify one point here. When we say urban, this is a rather umbrella term. It does not mean necessarily urban or suburban or rural. We have to see it as a generic umbrella term that in fact what it implies is about low-level flights, overpopulated areas at scale. These are the keywords. And each of these keywords provokes a number of challenges and opportunities for us as a society. So it's the safety, the security, of course, but don't tell me that any city would like to use any type of technology or system if it is not a priori safe and secure. And if it is the case, then we have some other issues we have to address. It could be the type of noise, it could be visual pollution, it could be energy consumption. Then we'll go to real issues that relate not to the technology itself or even the usability of it, but more about its integration and acceptance from the wider society.
Yes. So, of course, challenges under this umbrella are quite big. So I'm going back to Mr. Ewald, and I want to really learn from their experience because they are managing thousands and thousands of buildings in Southeast Europe. And what are the lessons learned?
So Petrol being an energy company with many years of experience on competitive regional market, we are managing more than 1,300 different kind of objects or facilities, from schools, public buildings, district heating networks, industrial sites, and public lighting, and so on and so on. So we are proud to position ourselves as a market leader in Southeast Europe. Our aim is to develop energy efficient and smart buildings. And so for the most of them, we are using TANGO platform, as it was described previously, as a data management platform. For example, through public-private partnership, we have performed energy optimization on most of the public buildings in our capital city of Ljubljana, also mentioned previously by our board member. And what is important here is that we are managing the entire cycle of project development, from project identification, solution development, implementation, and at the end, facility management. This is the most important part because we can afford zero mistakes. And that is why tools such as TANGO are significant for our business development.
Yes, it's really amazing what you accomplished. So just for our audience to understand, so those buildings are in cities around, let's say, Southeast Europe. And if you put them together, it's quite a nice city, similar size to Dubai. So I'm going to Dr. Noach. Earlier you mentioned that you are also a futurist, and this is really what I like. So could you explain us what are the future key infrastructure or emerging technologies that you will see that future cities will need?
That's a great question. And I love the previous example because I think the future technologies that cities all around the world will need to manage this growth are not necessarily technological in nature, as both my other panelists have mentioned. They're economic business model innovation, they're political and social innovations. So for example, in the previous example, which I just think is a perfect one, I'm not quite sure if Petrol is both the owner of the energy production system and the operator of it through the whole value chain, but regardless, you offer an extraordinarily integrated package. And that's quite important because the ability to navigate the intersection between these different systems is going to be one of the key differentiators between success and failure, or efficiency and inefficiency. And this requires a slightly different mindset to think about, which many emerging economies are more, let us say, capable or familiar with. And that's the idea of some degree of state involvement or endorsement in the market themselves, right? So in Dubai, we have a lot of state-owned enterprises like Emirates Airlines, and depending on the different kind of activity, their degree of ownership and operation and regulation varies. But what's essential to a fast-growing economy is the ability to stitch those things together. And that doesn't always happen necessarily in just a pure laissez-faire free marketplace, right? It takes a collaboration between all of the different stakeholders to be able to ensure that. So really, the kinds of social and political technologies which encourage that kind of interaction across systems and across sales are going to be the infrastructure that's most important. It's not so much about the technological infrastructure, which, as Vasilis has mentioned, is already years ahead of where we are in operational perspectives. So I couldn't agree more with the example from the gentleman from Petrol. That is the key kind of innovation that successful cities in the future need.
Yes. So, Dr. Vasilis, so Airbus is also building new demonstrators for prototyping, testing, validating the new technologies. So could you share what are your latest urban air mobility projects?
Well, as I have outlined that you have seen at the video, we have completed 2 vehicle demonstrators in order to better understand the design space impact of these technologies and the future architecture of the vehicles. But at the same time, we have completed a number of other studies ranging from business to consumer business models, from public policy considerations, from digital, physical infrastructure, mobility. So all of these create really a strong repository of knowledge for us in order to go ahead to develop products that can be not only at the pioneering, stage of sustainable aerospace, but will serve our citizens and the cities in a responsible way.
Yes, and all this research work, it's basically connecting the dots for the end picture. So I'm going to Mr. Ewald, and before you were talking about your experience, but really I would like to talk a little bit more about the projects and why they're so special. Is there any project that you want to share with our audience?
Thank you for this question. Sure. In Slovenia, we say we are somewhere in the middle, as a heart of Europe. And then we developed here a concept of a smart village called Luce, already previously mentioned by our board member. So it was a pilot project under Horizon 2020 framework. But what is important here is that this is a unique combination of a self-supply and independent community based on 100% renewable energy sources. And the interconnected resources behave like a unit. So while in the background, the surplus energy is managed or stored, and the needs are appropriately addressed based on the forecast and so on. So in this way, we see an example of a future smart, independent living district, perhaps stimulated by the fact that remote infrastructure is perhaps too expensive in some areas. So I have another example. So especially here in our region, we have many large industrial complexes that were built some 50 years ago or so. And they are also closed energy distribution system. And what we did, we actually conducted energy optimization, introduced several smart services, and created a synergy between industrial and city ecosystems. So we can, on one side, produce energy from renewables or waste heat, and then use it for mobility, heating, and so on. So such partnerships with large industrial facilities and surrounding communities can play a big role in, let's say, some future public-private partnerships, and are really possible answer how to create sustainable future.
Yes, and from Europe, where we have a lot of these 50, 60, even 100 years old industrial areas that we need to refurbish and rebuild and renew. We are going to Dr. Noah. So the year 2071 will be a special year for UAE, and Dubai also has established the Area 2071. So not our audience to too much speculate what Area 2071 means. I would kindly ask you to a little bit share with us what is the role and the vision and the purpose.
Sure. No, it's a pleasure. As I'm sure many of your viewers know, the United Arab Emirates was founded in 1971 as a nation. And so we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the country next year. And because the foundation of the country's success has been one that is based on visionary long-term leadership and the courage to try these kinds of big, bold experiments out, which is the kind of things we're discussing now. Of course, on the anniversary of the 50th anniversary of the country, we thought, what's next? So 2071 will be the 100-year anniversary of the country. And we thought that coming up to the 50th year anniversary, there's a good time to start to reflect on what the next 50 years looks like. So at the Dubai Future Foundation, working with our partners in the Prime Minister's office, the Ministry of Youth, many other colleagues, we created a space in a building called Emirates Towers, which I hope you will come and visit someday, some of the viewers. That is the center of innovation and government in Dubai, and one of the major centers in the UAE. And Area 2071 is a mix of kind of a co-working space, an accelerator space. We have several countries and residents with key partners, and it's a space where you can come, try your ideas out. It is itself a regulatory exemption zone. We're able to write our own laws to test these kinds of pre-legal technologies there and host the kinds of experiments that will be necessary for all of us to build the kind of world we want to see in the next 50 years. So 2071 is going to be the 100-year anniversary of the UAE. Area 2071 is where the next 50 years are being designed and experimented with, and we hope you can all come and visit us soon.
Yeah, I really recommend. A couple of times I was there, and soon I'm coming back. And the last question, and then we need to conclude. And I know that I would just want to share with our audience, this is recorded, and recording will be available for later. So Dr. Vasilis, could you just a little bit share with us just how important it is to build those ecosystems? Because we hear a lot about partnership and ecosystems. And with this question, we will also end this roundtable.
Well, by definition, an ecosystem, it is not just the different stakeholders, it's the relationships between them. And when you go to an emerging technology like urban air mobility, you are talking about an urban innovation. So from this perspective, urban innovation and urban air mobility ecosystem has all these challenges that any urban innovation has, plus that now we'll go to the third dimension. This by its own, it is a challenge, and you have seen the noticeable record of safety in aviation. This does not come for free. Everybody has been working hard from the industry to the regulators to the users. So the same sort of mindset needs to be applied also to an urban environment where we have a lot of challenges, because here, in fact, what we do, we reconsider what it means safety and security as we fly low and very close to people and over people. So that's why we need to have this orchestrated approach between the different stakeholders in order to address the interests and conflicts of each one. And when we manage to find a sort of balanced trade-off, then we can be more confident as an ecosystem, as a society, that this is the way forward. So it is about trade-offs we have to make collectively. And that's, I think, the underpinning importance of why we need to have an ecosystem approach.
Okay, thank you. The time is we are basically concluded. So I just want to thank you all for participating live. I wish you all the best and hope to see you back in 2021. And all the best. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great job. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for generating so many ideas. I am sure we are able to create better human society with friendly economy and decent life for all people and nature. As we heard, cities without mobility providers would have a quite big challenge to move people and goods from A to B, to move forward. In the next section, we will cover the recent best stories and cases of the field of mobility as a service. Mobility as a service is fastest growing segment in general mobility. It is making huge impact, and sometimes we think that it's all about cars and car sharing, but it's not. Just imagine, new development is happening in every corner. But when you are on the train, you are alone again. You need to organize yourself how to move on, and you are entering the world of apps to move it. So, that is why we will give our stage to the companies which build us solutions, like Slovenian Railways having unique project providing us with a single ticket for all public transport. Then we will continue with Toyota, that is building a portfolio of ride-sharing and car-sharing, carpooling solutions. And if we add Via Van or Scania, Via Van is already new reality in big cities. So it is time to give space and time to the new speaker. We welcome Mrs. Darja Kocian, Director of Passenger Transport of Slovenia Railways, with a lot of experience in the industry, economy, and the automotive industry. Ms. Kocian, welcome.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. We, Slovenian Railways Passenger Transport, operate rail passenger service in domestic, cross-border and international public transport. We run over 500 trains per day and roughly 50 million passengers traveling with us every year. Because good service is important, we bought 10 KISS IMU Stadler double-deck trains, which will operate at domestic market. There is 292 seats and 277 standing rooms. There is 2 places for wheelchairs and 10 bicycles. We also bought 21 Fiat EMO trains. There will be operate also in Slovenia, Italy, Austria and Croatia. There is 225 seats and standing room for 148 people. There is 2 places for wheelchairs and 10 bicycles. And 25 Fiat Dimo trains, they will operate also cross-border. There is 171 seats and standing room for 143 people. Also space for 2 wheelchairs and 10 bicycles. Interior, when we look at interior, it is really important that there is low-flow construction method for an easy entrance. There is a latest technical specification for interoperability, including legislation for persons with reduced mobility. There is wheelchair space. There is seats reserved for priority seats for persons with reduced mobility. And there are also toilets which are adapted to it. If we look at interior, there is also extended step for people with reduced mobility and also for space For baby strollers, there is space for 10 bicycles. Or the passenger can use a modern passenger information system and our free wireless network. Always it is important tariff. Passenger tariff and renewal was our really important project. It simplifies rules when selling tickets for different products. New updated tariff is more affordable, attractive for our passenger. Designing more affordable multi-day tickets and cheaper tickets for the travelers with bike are really important. Ticketing, when we direct all our effort in it. Implementing in production our new ticketing solution focused on mobile and web selling channel for unnamed and registered tickets. We implement new UEC standard and full integration with integrated public passenger standards, EAGPP project. Its primary goal achieved was to simplify the use of public transport and the affordability of public passenger transport service in all over Slovenia region using the same technical standard, allowing passengers to use the same ticket to travel with train or bus. Slovenske železnice integrated public passenger service focus on comprehensive solution integrated in home to final destination service, covering first, main and last mile service. One ticket, one price for the journey, digitally supported. Short movie will present our idea.
Miha želi povabiti Majo na koncert v Laškem. Maji je zamisel všeč. Naj se potovanje začne s sistemom integriranih vozovnic slovenskih železnic. Miha svojo vozovnico za vlak zlahka rezervira preko mobilne aplikacije. Tam rezervira še električno vozilo za skupno rabo, Maja pa v aplikaciji rezervira kolo na najbližji postaji. Na železniško postajo se je s svojim avtom pripeljal tudi njun prijatelj Rok. Očitno gre tudi on na isti koncert. Rok parkirnino plača na avtomatu, seveda preko naše aplikacije. Miha je karto za vlak že kupil preko aplikacije, Maja in Rok pa bosta svoje kupila na terminalu na peronu, ki omogoča plačilo s kartico, gotovino ali sistemom za plačevanje preko telefona. Neposredno ali z dobroimetjem. Maja svojo vozovnico natisne, Rok pa jo prenese na svoj telefon. Pred vstopom na vlak vozovnice vsi trije validirajo na validacijski napravi. Na poti proti Laškem se Miha priklopi na brezplačno Wi-Fi omrežje slovenskih železnic in v aplikaciji kupi vozovnice za avtobus, vstopnica za koncert pa lahko brezplačno prevzame kot nagrado v okviru programa zvestobe slovenskih železnic. V Laškem Miha svoje digitalne vozovnice validira na avtobusu, kot tudi vstopnice za koncert, ko prispejo tja. Ker je bila organizacija poti tako enostavna, je zdaj užitek na koncertu še toliko večji.
Integrated public passenger service, it means from home to final destination with Slovenian Railway. It means to travel with train, bus, e-bike, e-car, e-scooter, or to use other service like parking. We look at our railway station as a point of multimodal service. There is timetable adjustment, there is physical integration, there is information integration, and there is tariff and ticket integration. All those services can be run on railway stations. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure.
Ms. Kocian, thank you very much. In Slovenia and also in the region, we can't wait for all your plans to come true. However, as time is ticking and we should act fast, we now welcome next guest. Luigi Xaveri Luca is Director of Connected Technologies and Mobility at Toyota Motor Europe. His last challenge is to help transition of Toyota from traditional automotive company to a mobility company. Toyota Motors, besides selling us amazing cars, are also mobility provider. They have different palette solutions and they will share their view how they want to impact the new mobility space. Toyota will present a new brand for mobility services, Kinto. What is the main goal and how will Toyota provide mobility for all? Mr. Luca, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for having me again at City as a lab for the second consecutive year. Last year, I presented to you the ultimate mobility product from Toyota, which is the e-Pallet. I would like to give you the bigger picture today and talk about the ambition Toyota has in the mobility space. Why do we have this ambition? Is because the business and the society are changing. And what are the drivers of this change? The drivers are customers, so people are changing the way they live, their values, their needs. At the same time, cities are more and more confronted with the challenges of traffic congestion and pollution. And finally, technology is making possible solutions that we would not even imagine 10 years ago. So Toyota wants to be part of this transformation. This is why our president, Akio Toyoda, back in 2018 at the CES in Las Vegas, announced that we would transition from a traditional automotive business into a mobility company, and that our competitors will no longer be the traditional automotive companies, but also new players like tech company or mobility operators. In order to do this, we have established, in particular here in Europe, a new brand, a new mobility brand, which is Kinto. There are many players in the mobility space nowadays. So how can we be different? We don't know how to be different, but certainly we know how to be true to Toyota values. And the Toyota values are about inclusivity. Toyota values are about innovation, and I would say simplicity. And finally, the Toyota values is about sustainability, which means that we are committed to the environmental challenges of the future. So this is what Kinto is going to stand for. So to build Kinto in Europe, we have already very strong foundations. We have the Toyota organization in Europe, where we have many factories, where we have distributors, and where we have retailers, but most importantly, many satisfied customers. But we also have a financial organization, Toyota Financial Services, and unique in the automotive business, we have also an insurance company, the Toyota Insurance Management. On these strong foundations, our ambition was to build enablers which will help us deliver mobility services. The first enabler is Toyota Connected Europe, which has been established back in 2018 in London in order to be the tech arm of our mobility services. The second one is Toyota Fleet Mobility, which is our full service leasing company, which has an objective of delivering renting for 1 minute, 1 month, or years. The third enabler is a set of mobility products, which are set to come in the years to come. And the fourth enabler is a partnership ecosystem. Partnership ecosystem means that we are linking a striking relationship with different partners, which range from startups with whom we made investments like Faxi or WIM, but also large mobility players like Grab, Didi, or Uber. So with these strong foundations and these enablers, we will be capable of delivering mobility services to the end user. But what are those services? So the idea is to provide a set of services like full service leasing through our Kinto One proposition, but also subscription through the Kinto Flex proposition. Going through carpooling with our Kinto Join offer, and then into more traditional car sharing with Kinto Share, and in the future, also the ambition to provide ride-hailing solutions with our Kinto Ride offer. And all those services are going to be linked and integrated through our multimodal aggregator solution, Kinto Go. These solutions we plan to deploy in the coming years, but we have already some of them which are already live in Europe. We have Kinto Share already operating in Sweden, Kinto Go recently launched in Italy, and Kinto Flex which is operational in Norway. But our ambition is not only to provide services, it goes beyond that. Our ambition is to provide mobility for all. And this is part of our strategy of starting our impossible under the agreement that we have and the partnership that we have with the Olympic Games. Under this umbrella and framework, we have launched the Toyota Startup Accelerator. So we have decided to accelerate 5 startups which are operating in the field of inclusive mobility. We believe that this initiative is typically a Toyota initiative, where we aim to deliver mobility for everyone in a true meaning of the word. Last but not least, mobility is existing in cities. So we want to build the city of the future. And this is why we will launch in 2021 the Toyota Woven City, which is a living laboratory where researchers, scientists, and residents will test innovative mobility and connectivity solutions to tell us how the cities of the future will look like. If it was not clear so far, I would like to just reconfirm that the objective and the ambition of Toyota is to actively contribute in creating a new society where freedom of movement is a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Luca. With us is also Victoria Markevitz. She is Business Development Principal in Via Van Company. The company Via Van is reshaping public transport from a rigid system of fixed routes to a fully dynamic network. How it looks in practice will tell us Ms. Markevitz.
Thank you very much, and also thank you very much for the invitation to join this very exciting format. I would have loved to be there in person, but I guess we all have to cope with the current pandemic. But I think this is a great way to, regardless, connect people from across different countries to talk about innovative mobility. And as part of this roundtable, I'm very excited to be sharing Via Van's thoughts, my thoughts on how microtransit or on-demand ride pooling is a part of the mass world, how it's a part of the mobility as a service puzzle. I want to talk about within the next few minutes how technology for microtransit can be used for a variety of different use cases to really make integrated mobility a reality and enhance the overall public transport offering. So if we think about public transport and public mobility, it really comes in all forms and shapes. What they all have in common is that they do replace private vehicle ownership. So I guess this is the mission that most mobility providers share. But whether it be a bus ride, a subway ride, or a bike or scooter ride, or simply an on-demand ride pooling journey, the overall public mobility offering becomes a lot more attractive the more diverse the modes are and the more choice passengers have to really pick the right mode for their specific use case. I could be going just grocery shopping and I don't mind sharing my ride with others. At other times, I'm really in a hurry and I want to take a private phone call, then I may not want to share my ride. But essentially, the more public mobility modes they have to choose from, the less likely they are actually to use their own private vehicle because they have so many different choices. And this is where Via Van fits in. We really see ourselves as a piece of a puzzle, making the public mobility offering a lot more attractive by offering a mode on-demand ride pooling that sits somewhere between a bus and a taxi. So it is more comfortable than a bus ride because you have your own route, you determine the timing, but it's also, you have to share the ride with others and you have to walk to a virtual bus stop. So it's not really a taxi ride. But adding to the choice for passengers to choose from. And we've been doing this quite successfully in many different places. So we have projects now in over 100 different cities in over 20 different countries, where we work together with cities directly, public transport authorities or operators who are interested in running on-demand systems under their own brand, like the BBG in Berlin, but also many other great places that we will also see in a second. And at our core, our business is basically to provide technology to those partners. And what has been interesting also in the context of mobility as a service, that usually on-demand ride pooling has really been the first step towards an integrated mobility offering, because usually the on-demand ride pooling service that we provide is one of the very first modes that are widely adopted, but that are also almost always only digitally booked. Hence, the partners had a platform where passengers were very actively using public mobility digitally. So this led us actually to a situation where Via Van also developed into somewhat of a tech backbone for public mobility in that area, as our partners ask us to also enhance the use cases and the product portfolio. So coming from our core offering on-demand transit rides in urban, suburban, rural areas, we have now also projects that cater for school children. So we do have school transportation projects. We have transportation projects for paratransit or non-essential medical transport, and even corporate mobility, campus shuttles, and have even been looking into tolling, etc. So coming from this idea of enhancing public mobility overall, introducing on-demand transit, now using that platform to also really digitize most of the mobility offering a city can decide upon. So not only traditional public transport, but also these other transport sectors that I talked about. One good example is our project together with the BBG in Berlin, the Bergkönig project, which is the largest on-demand public transport project in the on-demand world, with over 1 million riders since we started in 2018. We just celebrated our second anniversary, and with over 150 vehicles, if we disregard the pandemic for a second. And in this case, we also wanted to make the Bergkönig to be included in the public mobility offering and really make booking as easy as possible to really make this mode as effective as possible. So what we did here is we followed a dual approach. For once, the Bergkönig has been integrated in the new MaaS app of BBG, the Jelbi app, where it's fully integrated. We have APIs, we have connected our APIs so that riders do not need their own, they don't need a separate account, but if they're registered with the MaaS app, they can book and pay for the Bergkönig ride just as easily. However, because already quite a few people downloaded the Bergkönig app, the white label rider app for the on-demand service, we also enhanced that app with functionality. So within the Bergkönig app, we also show multimodal options. So what other public transport alternative you could also take instead taking a Bergkönig, and soon also intermodal options, so that you can also book a travel chain with the Bergkönig and traditional public transport combined. Really, again, coming from the start, making public transport overall more attractive. And because the on-demand system Bergkönig is only one piece of the puzzle of public mobility, several goals have been already reached by now. So first of all, customer experience is improved as passengers are much more flexible in their journeys that are being offered. They can take a very customized Bergkönig rides, or as I said, they can connect it also with traditional modes of public transport. The overall system efficiency is being improved by also optimizing the use of mass transit. And It's also the next step on the roadmap to integrate autonomous and non-autonomous modalities. So if we think about that those vehicles may not need to be driven by a human being maybe in the future, but because the drivers don't take any decisions themselves, and because the riders are already used to booking a ride on the smartphone, this is already the step towards autonomous mobility. So we as VFN see ourselves as really part of an integrated mobility world, being the tech backbone for on-demand rides, but also for many different other use cases our partners have in mind. And I am very excited to be also sharing the roundtable later with the colleagues also part of this panel to discuss ideas on mobility as a service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Victoria. I wish you all the best. Let's listen now to the company Scania, part of Volkswagen Group. Our speaker, Mr. Rodrigo Caetano, will share with us their self-driving concept. Mr. Caetano, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me as part of this summit for the second time. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Rodrigo Caetano, as introduced, and I'll start with a very quick background of myself. I work for the company Scania, headquartered in Sweden, and I work in the business area Autonomous Solutions, and this team is in the lead of defining the future of the business when it comes to autonomous transport mobility of goods and people. So we are looking after partnerships, market development, venture business, and sustainable solutions, of course. Then, for those who are not so familiar with the company Scania, I'm going to start with a very short introduction about the company. We are a world-leading provider of transport solutions, including trucks and buses for heavy transport applications, combined with an extensive product-related services. But also Scania is a leading provider of industrial and marine engines as well. We are in about 100 countries with 55,000 employees, with research and development activities in Sweden, Brazil, and India, and production in Europe, Latin America, and Asia, with regional production centers in Africa, Asia, and Eurasia as well. Now, going to the point of the presentation, what you see here is a time lapse of the development of transportation through time. So the introduction of the wheel brought revolution to both our everyday life, transportation and warfare, and then came the steam engine, which enabled the industrial revolution, as we know, affecting both mining sites, factories, ships, and locomotives. And then the oil and the internal combustion engine came, and for being small and mobile, they brought the next step of revolution to the transport of people and goods. And each one of these followed an accelerating growth curve from early adoption to more widespread reach. These shifts were drivers of economic growth, but at the same time, they polluted the planet. So why is this historical flashback important? It is important because it tells us that the world has always needed transportation, and it will continue to need more and more in the future, but it cannot be toxic to safeguard the well-being of the planet and us as inhabitants of this planet. So we have to build a new transportation system that is sustainable and does not provoke any harm to the environment. That means that we need to change or transform the world of transport again, and this time towards a more sustainable future. And this, I mean, the answer for this we find in connectivity, electrification, and autonomous. So we're going to see that there are disruptive trends that affect our industry specifically. It is about technological advancement within the areas connected, electrified, and autonomous, which will tell us how the vehicle of the future will look like. And actually, this is already happening under the surface. While it is easy to dismiss such a scenario as a too far-fetched at first glance, the development in several of these areas are already becoming reality or are already a reality. As for example, for ports with fully automated loading and unloading operations, which are already today state of the art. Broad variety of automated solutions within warehousing is available, logistics, and so on. So this is not the future; it's actually happening now. When it comes to Scania and autonomous solutions at Scania, I'm going to share with you what we are doing. And the fastest, easiest, and simplest way to implement autonomous solutions is in a controlled and predictable environment. Example, geofenced areas with no access to the public, and so on. Hence, it makes sense to start with hub and hub-to-hub applications, such as you can see in the picture, such as mining and construction, harbor and industrial applications, and evolving to logistics applications as well. The next step, which we experience growing at a fast pace today, is the public transport, and it has all of its challenges, such as mixed traffic, public access, ticketing systems, diverse weather conditions when operations cannot stop, and so on. This is long. And latest, it will come city distribution as a very challenging environment where everything happens dynamically. So this is the evolution path that we at Scania are focusing at. And on top of this, we have our intelligent control environment to control the fleet of autonomous vehicles, because we know that something needs to control the vehicle, so the vehicle is not controlled by themselves. The vehicles are not controlled by themselves. So on this, Scania intelligent control environment is being built to monitor and control the fleet of autonomous vehicles. What you see here in this picture is based on the trends and our own internal assessment on their impact. We created this picture that shows how transportation will look like in the future. This picture is mainly related to the transportation of goods, but it serves for its purpose to show the autonomous systems. So the entire transport chain will see a much higher degree of automation and digitalization compared to today. There will be autonomous warehouses, automated loading, while the Internet of Things, so-called IoT, will increase transparency in combination with, or that in combination with artificial intelligence will boost efficiency. In long haul, on most roads, transport will be autonomous and electrified. So the implementation of autonomous vehicles will likely start by connecting automated harbors and warehouses, as we saw in the previous picture, and also interlink it with traditional transport modes. But from there, it will rapidly expand where possible due to the cost benefits. So here in this picture, you see a graph by Futuris where the statement is that industrial business transformation will generate significant new profit pools, and pre-existing profit pools are bound to shrink, mainly driven by digitalization, shifting the focus onward from traditional physical products to intelligent and connected products, as well as with the service ecosystem related autonomous capabilities and data, because we see a lot of talks about data monetization today. Then what we experience is a marked disruption and emerging business models. So you can see on the right-hand side here that new transportation use case will emerge from autonomous vehicles based on what is transported, the ownership model, operational model, where, etc. And use cases will drive business model and revenue potential. And this is a disruption because we see it's already happening from private ownership to shared mobility with mobility as a service systems, and beyond that, transport as a service as well. And the TCO due to autonomous and electrification is enormous. So autonomous drive and electrification will also drastically change the cost structure of transportation. The TCO advantage of an autonomous, electrified and connected truck or bus is so enormous that we believe that it will accelerate implementation. And also, the telecom operators will capitalize beyond the traditional mobile broadband subscription model that exists today, as telcos are an important part of the ecosystem as provider of connectivity and related services. And this is my last slide, and here I just want to introduce you to NXT, which is a vision of the future for transport in cities. This is a concept. It's not reality today. It's a concept for 2030 and beyond. NXT is Scania's new battery electric self-driving urban concept vehicle with the front and rear drive modules being able to be fitted to a bus body, distribution truck, or a refuse collector. So it is designed with the flexibility to shift from ferrying commuters to and from work and schools in the mornings and evenings, and delivering goods during the day and collecting refuse at night, for example. So NXT has been designed as a prototype for testing and evaluation, but also to be exhibited to get the feedback on the concept. With this, I end my presentation here. And as said before, we are driving the shift towards a more sustainable and promising future. Thanks for listening. Keep in touch.
Thank you, Mr. Rodrigo Caetano. But we aren't done yet. I'm happy to announce our second roundtable. As we can see, mobility services across the board are facing the revolution. That's why we move with a roundtable called Mobility as a Service. Next transport disruption. The house rules are the same as before, and it will be explained by the moderator of our second roundtable, Ms. Claudia Jans, Mobility as a Service expert from AV Living Lab. So, Mrs. Claudia, I can see you're ready, and so the time is yours.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can all hear me now. Thank you very much, Petra, for your kind introduction, and welcome to our Mobility as a Service Roundtable. So first up is Ms. Daria Kucian, the Director of Passenger Transport at Slovenian Railways, who has extensive experience in the industry, economy, and in the automotive world. Second up is Luigi Xaveri Luca, Director of Connected Technologies and Mobility at Toyota Motor Europe, whose main mission right now is to help transition Toyota from a traditional automotive company to a mobility company. Next, Ms. Victoria Markovic, Business and Development Principal at ViaVan, who is the urban expert in the background and strategic management consulting. And last but not least, Rodrigo Caetano, the global business developer at Scania, who works as the lead of defining the future of the business and autonomous transport mobility. Welcome, everybody. Before we start, I would just like to tell our audience, If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to pick up your questions at the end of the roundtable. So first up, Ms. Daria. In your presentation, I've noticed that the Slovenian railways are talking about how to solve the first and the last mile mobility in cities. For me, it's very interesting to see a railway company trying to solve the issue and, of course, address car sharing. Who would have thought, like 10 years ago, that a railway company would be speaking at an automotive event? This is why I really believe that mobility as a service is a really disruptive business model concept. In regard to this, my question is, what is the role of railways in the mobility as a service ecosystem? Ms. Daria?
Thank you all. Nice to see you. Well, our vision is to help to move up for our passenger from point A to point B, because we strongly believe that a good service with the railways as a bond and one ticket for the whole journey is our story for the future. We believe that passenger will use their mobile phones to pay the ticket, to make all the reservation, to look at all the information which are available, and this fast world is something what is simply the fact, and we do want to offer the full service. Other thing is that we as a company were a leading partner of consortium which developed, implement and now maintains also a software for integrated passenger transport in Slovenia. So we do have experience with multimodality.
Very interesting insight. Thank you very much, Ms. Daria. My next question goes to Mr. Luigi. For the beginning, could you please share with us why is it so important to become a mobility provider and not just, a vehicle vendor? Mr. Luigi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, and I was muted. So good morning, everyone. Sorry for that.
Hi.
To reply to your question, I think first of all, let's make it clear. We want to keep selling cars. This is our core business. So this is what we have been doing for many years, and we will keep doing for many years onwards. And we will be selling cars to also other mobility providers. And we truly believe we have a strong advantage here, because in the future, convenience and durability are going to play a major role in this place. So this will still be a big and relevant part of our business. Nevertheless, we all understand that moving into mobility, it means that we want and have to capture where the value will move tomorrow. And in the value chain, let's say, providing all the services around mobility, being a provider of mobility, is where the end customer will have the contact point. And this is why we are organizing ourselves to be capable of selling final mobility solutions, but also services. So the whole, let's say, value chain around the mobility space. So it is important that we keep connected with the end customer, and the end customer is moving from customer to user. So we want to be connected with the end user, and the focus will be in delivering a true experience, a mobility experience, a brand experience, and people remembering you about the experience that you delivered to them. I think it is a bit less a data business. So far, it did not prove to be, let's say, nobody really proved it's really providing, big money, I would say. But of course, data is important, and collecting data it's key. But at this point in time, I think our focus is really about delivering the service to the end customer and being recognized by the service that we deliver.
That is a very great view, Luigi. Thank you very much. My next question goes to Ms. Victoria. public transport hasn't really changed in the last 20 to 30 years. You know, it's always kind of been operating on the fixed routes, either on trails or routes or, you know, roads. How has on-demand shared mobility changed the way we people move?
That's exactly right. So most of the innovations we've seen in public transport over the past decades have either been around maybe new engines with electric mobility coming up also, or maybe there's a booking app that you can buy your ticket online, and this was already a great innovation. But what didn't really change in the past decades, that new mobility modes were added to the portfolio of public transit. And this is really what happened also because of the smartphone and Wi-Fi penetration, in that on-demand mobility provided really is now a new means of transport, public transport that sits somewhere between a bus and a taxi. And what changed about this is that passengers really are able to travel much more individualistic. So they're not bound to a fixed route. They're not bound to a fixed schedule. So this caters much more the needs of the 21st century, that if you want to travel now, but you don't need to have your own vehicle, you can travel now in the direction that you want to travel. So this is also another trend that we see, in that if on-demand ride-pooling services are implemented the right way, people are willing to give up their private vehicle because they do have a new mode of transport that caters for their needs just as well as the private vehicle does. But most importantly, I think what the best success is of those models is that we have a lot more shared mobility and a lot less individualistic mobility on the streets, and thereby reducing emission, reducing congestion.
Perfect. As a person who doesn't own a vehicle and really cares about the environment, I really love this concept. My next question goes to Rodrigo, since we're talking about public transport as well. Rodrigo, would you agree to deploy an autonomous bus in public transport in mixed traffic as of right now?
Well,
hello.
To some extent, yes. But of course, when we are talking about bus and transportation of people, it has all of its complexity, mainly regarding the safety of the passengers. So if it's a controlled environment, dedicated lane and so on, dedicated infrastructure, that would be possible. But I don't think that we're going to see this today. So I could not do it today because there are still a regulation that needs to be in place. And also the infrastructure needs to be prepared to receive autonomous vehicles. And I'm talking here about big vehicles, heavy transport applications. When it comes to pods and so on, or smaller vehicles, we have seen a lot of deployments already today, though it's under limited conditions as well. But yes, that would be interesting to deploy autonomous bus today on public transportation. But just to bear in mind, Scania also worked with trucks, and when it comes to trucks, we do have operations, commercial operations with autonomous trucks today, but that's a different kind of environment. And I just want to comment on Luigi's and Victoria's that I fully agree with you. As Toyota, we want to sell vehicles, but we want to provide a platform, a mobility platform that's beyond the vehicle. We want to be part of the whole ecosystem. And for that, the transport.
Okay, thank you very much, Luigi. Sorry, Rodrigo. I think you froze a little bit. So I will go to the next question. Ms. Daria, could you please explain to us how your offering of the integrated public transport single ticket works right now in Slovenia?
Well, at the moment, this integrated public ticket is available, so the passenger can use the bus or train from point A to point B with a single same ticket. This is the project of Ministry. We were just the leading partner in this story, and it goes on really well. It was started for the student and for the schooling population, and now there are also general tickets which are used. So in practice, it goes really very well. and then the refund is done through a calculation model, which is on historical information of past transport routes and share a percentage of transport company of all the transport in public service which was done in previous years. So this is the model of the moment, but in the future it will be based on the concept of fair clearing. So I think Slovenia, as a small country, can develop such a model of integrated public ticket, and it goes really well at the moment, and it's user-friendly.
Yes, I agree. I have the ticket myself.
Okay.
And I really like using it because I only have to search for my wallet for one single card. I don't have to look at, for different ones.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, I traveled a lot. So my next question goes to Luigi. Today we have, besides a lot of cards, also so many mobility apps out there from different providers. My challenge when I'm traveling to different cities in Europe is I always have to find the right app and download it for every single transport. When do you think we will have a single login app for all types of transport all around Europe? Luigi?
One app for all the transportation, unlikely. Unlikely to happen, and I think we indeed are now targeting more apps than cars very soon. As you said, there are many cars and there are more and more apps. And we, at the same time, we are all obsessed by the idea of integrating everything into one app. And we are all ourselves, and every other company is trying to bring everything into one app to have all the verticals, all the solutions, and owning all the solutions. It's a major challenge, and I don't think it has an immediate answer. On one side, I think that the app ecosystem itself will evolve in the future. So we might have apps today, but we might not have apps tomorrow, and we are going to a more integrated experiential approach when it comes to interaction with the digital world, which means that probably even the apps themselves will have evolved since. So the only way forward that I see is through integration, which means that collaboration and cooperation between the different apps provider and service providers is key to succeed. So you should be able to access the same services through different channels and through different systems. So the more the systems are integrated, the more you're capable of replying to this. So you should be, as a company, you should be open, totally open to this. Of course, it has implication from a GDPR point of view, it has implication from a business model point of view and the relationship with the customer. Our priority as a company should be focusing on delivering the experience, as I mentioned before. I think this is what is making the strong link between you and the customer, whatever the channel the customer came in through.
I completely agree. Thank you very much, Luigi. Back to traveling, Victoria, in your personal opinion, which European city do you believe has the best mobility as a service strategy and why?
I think two factors come into play when defining what is a great mobility as a service strategy. So one would be to have a lot of diverse, different mobility options to choose from, going back to the point that if I have a mobility option for all of my different use cases, shared, not shared, fast, slow, then I'm able to leave my own car at home, get rid of my own car. So I have to have a lot of options. And then second of all, those options have to be very easy to be researched and to be booked. As you said, I don't want to have tens of different mobility apps on my smartphone. So if I consider those two factors being important, I would say that Berlin, where I'm living, is doing a pretty great job in combining all of this, having a mass app powered by the public transport, who is offering not only traditional public transport, but also innovative options ranging anything from scooter to car sharing, bike sharing, on-demand ride pooling, traditional bus subway, etc. I think this is a really great way, but I also have to think back of my great memories from the ITS Congress in Copenhagen, when in 2017 we could also do a lot of great intermodal trips through the MAS app. Copenhagen already had for several years. So thinking back of that experience, Copenhagen is just missing an on-demand mobility component to even have more broader portfolio and choices to choose from. But I think those would be two great cities. And but what will be interesting to see, and also to integrate some of the questions that are also popping up, is that this mobility portfolio will even become even more important because of COVID-19, as we see strong changes in mobility patterns, people working more from home. So we really need the mobility portfolio to be adapted to cater for new mobility patterns that people will now adopt to, compared to the traditional commuting patterns that were in place before that. But let's see how the cities will react to that.
Great answer. Thank you very much, Victoria. I too am very excited to see how this is going to roll out. And to maybe return the topic back to autonomous, Rodrigo, do you believe there will be autonomous vehicles in public transportation in the coming 3 to 4 years, as predicted by some?
To some extent, yes, but it's not going to be, let's say, a heavy deployment. It's going to start in the developed countries where investments are being done and to a limited extent. But yes, and we at Scania in 2022, during the World Cup in Qatar, this has been announced, together with Volkswagen and other companies in the group, we are developing an autonomous systems of buses and smaller vans or shuttles to be deployed in Doha during the World Cup and beyond. And this is all integrated through an app for booking, scheduling, and so on. So it's a combination of things. And yeah, taking it from this perspective, yes, in 2-3 years, we're going to see it.
Exciting. I can't wait to see where mobility goes. So I received some questions from the chat. One of them being, do you see the rise of digitalization and trend in stay-at-home and work/buy/live online as a solution, challenge, or problem for your mobility services and solutions? Luigi?
Sorry, I will need to ask you to repeat the question. I couldn't catch it.
Do you see the rise of digitalization and trend in stay-at-home and work/live online as a solution, challenge, or problem for your mobility services and solutions?
I think as Victoria mentioned, it's creating a totally new patterns. So it's really too early to give a reply to this. We are also at an early stage in our development. So for us, it's only everything is an opportunity right now, because of course we did not consolidate strongly in one direction or the other. So we have the flexibility and agility to go in different directions. But I believe that mobility, regardless of this specific pandemic pause, is not going to fundamentally change, and this is going to be a huge trend in the future. So there will be multiple patterns and multiple opportunities. You need to stay flexible in order to capture them.
Yes, adaptation is very important. We have time for one more question. Victoria, this one is going to be for you. Ready? What will be the role/importance of data monetization in new mobility business models?
I think this is a great question, because also this question has not really been answered as of now. So I'm personally a strong proponent that everything around public mobility should be also a public good. So I personally think it's great if public transportation companies, if cities, public transportation authorities take the initiative and create a mass environment, because then also the citizens' data is within a public institution, and they will then take care of the data. It will be interesting to see if the public bodies will be up for the challenge, or if in fact private companies will tap in more into the market and in fact monetize the data in a different way than a governmental institution would do so. So I guess it's a paradigm question. Who will lead this mobility as a service change and mission, and what will happen to the data? So this is up for the future to be seen.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Victoria. And thank you to everybody on this panel for your time. We really appreciate you coming. Thank you to the audience for attending. And back to you at the studio, Petra.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Now we are done with Roundtable. Thank you, Claudia, and all panelists. We heard so many information that we need a break. And our coffee break will be different than usual. So please don't go away. But before I explain the way of having virtual coffee break, just let me mention that we are preparing for you an exciting panel about innovation in mobility. We know that mobility race is on, creating the next trillion market. We are facing absolute game-changing business and technology trends. We are facing new future, but you will be able to hear all about it soon. As I said, after coffee break, our system will, when I stop talking to you, random place you in different virtual coffee break room, where you will have opportunity to have live interaction with our key speakers. So just grab your coffee and don't worry, the system will automatically bring you back to me. The event will start soon after the break. Thank you for now and see you soon.
In the digital era, we are facing an unmanageable amount of data. It is therefore crucial that the data is processed and transformed into useful information. Introducing TANGO, a state-of-the-art IT solution that provides cost-effective planning, efficient control, and management of systems in smart cities, villages, and communities. Mayors, owners, and operators of infrastructure, industry, and different types of buildings are facing many IT challenges. A lack of proper information for effective management, the inability to display data in one place, high costs of upgrading existing information systems. By using TANGO, we collect data from various data sources and, with the help of data intelligence, manage complex systems in a cost-effective way. With machine learning, or so-called data intelligence, TANGO enables the forecasting of events, thus optimizing demanding processes or systems. We efficiently manage critical infrastructure. We improve the management of smart cities and smart industries. We efficiently manage renewables and flexibility of units on the market. TANGO enables users to create individually adapted dashboards without any programming skills or additional costs. Quality information provides a clear insight into all the measures necessary for the system's efficient performance in the future. With this, TANGO helps to reduce costs and environmental burdens while increasing stakeholder satisfaction. TANGO, connecting devices, data sources, and people. Collecting, exchanging, analyzing, and storing data. Converting data into information. Visualizing and transmitting information. Using information for a better tomorrow. TANGO, powerful data insights for better business results.
Okay, so now officially we are in a coffee break, but because we are virtual and online and not on site, we decided that we will stay with you. We will little bit chat, we will little learn, explore a network. And if you want to join the conversation, just please raise hand and ask the question, or we will give you the opportunity to talk. And with me is Mr. Ewald Krančević from the company Petrol, and it is a new thing for both of us. So I am not a coffee drinker to start, I'm water drinker, so cheers to everyone. And we can just basically maybe start with your, let's say, view on, coffee gives humans energy. In the future, we will have more and more let's say, e-mobility things. We will listen about this tomorrow, about also talking about e-mobility of things. You know, we know this Internet of Things, e-mobility things, a lot of things will be like that. So what's your view on how this will change our lives? You know, because today we learned that we are charging on station-based, and tomorrow we will charge almost, we believe, everywhere. And I will give you one infographics as well to highlight this. So please, Ewald, what's your view? How this will change in the future? Eva, you're on mute.
Sorry. Like I explained in my session already, so this definitely will change our perspective, how we see the not just smart cities, communities, but also other systems that we are trying to connect here. So I have to say this is a part of our daily based business. So we are really progressing here and learning on daily basis, and what is now going on tomorrow will be something in addition. So we're really flexible here. We have a, let's say, bunch of young guys, engineers that are developing our systems, and we are really trying to be let's just say industry leader in this terms of speaking.
Yeah, but it's interesting, you know, how some trends are coming. You know, when I was traveling around the globe, maybe not in Europe, but in some emerging markets, especially in Asia and Africa, we see this rapid urbanization. And in Southeast Europe, we also see a lot of new developments coming. And this rapid urbanization is so cities simply cannot just grow. So somehow we need to manage resources wisely. So
I agree fully. So we have to, cities will grow, the population will grow, but on the other side we have to be sustainable. So that's our main focus. So to bring the other side. So while growing, be also sustainable and environmentally friendly and let's say less CO2 footprint and all those things that are very, very important nowadays. So we are always looking both sides. Yeah. But to be honest, so we are also running business on growing. So the growth itself it's good for business and it should stay like that. So we all saw that this coronavirus situation really shocked the whole world and it's not good, you know. So we have to put ourselves in let's say in the past, so to say, that we are traveling again. So you can see today that aviation is almost grounded. So I hope, sincerely hope that this will change pretty soon. Yeah.
Yes, and of course, when we are discussing about the change of business models, your company changed quite a lot of them. You are basically in, let's say, 20 years ago, well known as a oil and gas retailer and distributor, and now you are much more than that. So, what's the drivers behind that? Is this really following the trends? Or it's really making, like they say, there are famous quotes, the best way to predict future is basically to make it.
We found out many years ago that only running oil business it's not enough, and luckily this change, this decision was made several years ago, and portfolio of petrol businesses is really, it really contains let's say several different, let's say from energy services, wholesales. We are really energy selling, infrastructure. So we are trying to be, we say, energy utility company. So energy utility and not energy selling company also, so if we are looking more into details to our, let's say, to our system, you will find out that we have a lot of young people, a lot of young engineers, a lot of people there. They are developing solutions and solutions that are not now today, but we are, let's say, developing for tomorrow. So we're trying to be on the edge. We're trying to be competitive, and that's the only policy. So to be, let's say, in the game, so to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the meanwhile, I'm sharing, the graphic of the mega cities. What we see is that 68, so approximately 70% of population will live in urban areas, but this will even grow at 2100. I was looking which will be the biggest city, and it was for me really, I was surprised that 3 largest cities in 2100 will be in Africa. They will be in Nigeria, they will be in Congo, and they will be in Tanzania. But going back to Europe, so in Europe we have quite old buildings, and let's say in Ljubljana, you're basically one of the leading company who is offering, I believe, 20 years of energy service providing to basically renew and to become then the energy provider on the long run. So how is let's say, this old part of the cities, ready for, I don't know, the future, for zero emission buildings?
I should say it's not only about our company, but it's in the first place, it's about, let's say, the citizens, the mayor, and the policy that is running on in Ljubljana. As you can see, these things are developing quite rapidly. We saw the speech in the morning, how they try to unite, let's say, green areas, traffic-free zones and so on. So Ljubljana has really changed in the last 10 years, I must say so. And we, as an energy company, we're trying to support this effort to become even more sustainable. So we, as I explained earlier, we let's say, optimized, renovated a lot of existing buildings in the city, from schools, other public buildings, kindergartens, and so on. So we believe also that we put a major footprint, how to say, to better, let's say, future in Ljubljana. And of course, this is less CO2 emission, less pollution, and so on. So when we are optimizing, we are trying to introduce new technologies, environmentally friendly technologies. So we are always trying to step one step further. So and of course, to make business. This is our main focus here. So we are not hiding from that, but doing business and doing it in a sustainable way. That's the main point. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ewald. Now we go to company, our leading insurance company, Triglav. And
thank you.
Yeah.
It was a nice coffee break.
Yeah, and it's continuing, so don't go away.
Triglav Group has been proudly reaching peaks ever since the parent insurance company was established in 1900. Started as an ambitious local pioneer, Triglav Group now has companies in all key regional markets and is internationally present through reinsurance. The group has grown to become the market leader in Slovenia and Adria region. Over 5,000 employees share our mission, building a safer future. With responsive, simple and reliable solutions and services, we are problem solvers whenever and wherever clients need us. We support sports spectacles and athletes, encourage promising talents, and make our environment both safer and cleaner. Because when reaching for the top, you must always push the bar higher and try harder.
Hey, okay, great. Let's continue with our coffee break. With me are Jaka and Andras from the insurance company Triglav, and I would also kindly ask our Maya to raise a pool because we have a question for you, which will help us, discuss a little bit while we are at a coffee break and relaxing and enjoying the conversation. So hi Aka, hi Andras.
Hello Daniel.
Hi. Okay, so while the poll will be uploaded, so for our audience to see it, it's amazing. We are more than okay. So here we are. The questions. So please, you can answer. So the first one is about applications. So there are more and more applications that can help us understand our driving behavior. They can basically provide us with some geofencing locations, information, and so on. So are you familiar with those apps? Do you already downloaded it? Do you know what are the benefits from it? And the second question will be really, for us in mobility, it's quite normal that everybody tried car sharing. But we want to ask you how knowledgeable and experienced you are with this, because it's a little bit different. Driving your own car is different than sharing it with some others and so on. So please take time and we are looking forward. In the meanwhile, Jaka, so what in Slovenia is quite famous is your Drive app. What is amazing is that you did, so 5% of total population, approximately. So the number of downloads represents 5% of total population. So for insurance company, this is great results. So how you achieve that? What is the success story? What are the benefits of the app? Why everybody so keen to have your app Drive?
Hi again, Daniel. Thanks for having us here at this coffee break. Yes, so the telematics is a trend, a worldwide trend, and we also jumped onto this train with the development of our own app back in 2015. So it's on the market now for 5 years. We had quite some marketing campaign about it in the beginning, but the start was quite slow because people were not that much used of insurance company observing on watching their behavior while driving. But I think slowly with word of mouth and also probably to large, I would say, so due to our agent who are selling the insurance, our products, they also make it much more famous, this Drive. And obviously the customers, they saw the benefit for them. They can have up to 25% discount for the certain coverages on their insurance policy. That's why we are having now numbers like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. And beside the app, you also work with the driving simulator, which is on site. So I experienced that and it was really great. So you go in a simulator, you drive for 15 minutes, and then the profile of you as a driver is created by artificial intelligence algorithms in the back end. And this gives you an opportunity in the future to create new products, better offering for drivers based on the driving behavior.
Yes, that's right. So we always want to differentiate between the good and not so good drivers. So the simulator that you just mentioned, it's one way of trying to predict who will be better driver and thus give him a more appropriate premium in the end, because this is our focus, yeah.
And there's one good point about that simulator, because you can put human into a situation that he on the road probably would not experience. So you can actually test him in different that kind of situations that are in probability not even probable as he would experience on the road. So
yeah, but now
because he's gonna react on that situation.
Yeah,
so even prepare him, a little bit, teach him. If you're in that situation, this is how you're gonna react.
Yes, and like we were discussing earlier, so 10 years, 15 years ago, that somebody would told me, that insurance company will do so many, mobility or automotive tech applications. Well, we knew that you will go into fintech, but also in mobility space. And you're also active in sharing mobility economy, if I call it like that, with micro mobility and macro mobility with cars and so on. So what's your story here?
One thing is that we want to expand our products, the range of our products, and while e-mobility and this micro-mobility is becoming more and more popular with e-skiros, these little bikes, city bikes, we also want to offer coverage for them. On the other hand, car sharing is evolving also in Slovenia, and we, as you said, as the biggest insurance company on our market, we want to offer the cover also for this type of risks. That's why we developed the product, which is connected only to the car sharing, and it offers coverage for 1 year, 1 day, or some kilometers driven or something like that.
Okay, in the meantime, also results came. So let's comment the first one. So are you aware of the existence of the app for driving behavior? Of course, 81% is not surprised. We are at Mobility Summit. And so this, are you surprised with this number?
Like you said, due to this meeting, not due to the audience, but otherwise I would consider it quite high, yes, for the general population.
Mm-hmm. So what that means is that people see value in it. They are curious. They want to understand how this will impact on better. And let's go to the second one, the use of car sharing. Here, I would expect the higher number, to be honest. Very much opposite, but also we have quite a lot of answers. This is really active audience at Coffee Break. I think coffee gave us all the energy, so thank you all for answers. But how you would comment this? 63% yes.
I would say this is quite high percent, in my opinion, especially in Slovenia, because the car sharing platform or the car sharing, I'm only familiar with in Ljubljana. So, but a lot of rural areas in Slovenia doesn't know car sharing at all. So, whoever doesn't commute daily to Ljubljana or lives in Ljubljana is probably not familiar with it.
Yeah. Yes, but this also means great job, for the providers and also the opportunity even to grow it further. So we would be interested in how these numbers will change next year. So thank you for now.
V mobilnem omrežju prihodnosti ni pomembno le, da hitro in udobno pridemo od točke A do točke B. Samovozeča vozila so učinkovita, zagotavljajo večjo prometno varnost in so prijazna do okolja. V realnem času zaznajo nevarnosti, najdejo prosta parkirna mesta in samodejno poiščejo naslednjo polnilno postajo. Izzive transporta blaga in osebnega prometa brezskrbno rešujemo s pametnimi vlaki, optimizirano letališko infrastrukturo in samodejno krmiljenimi letalniki. Prihodnost mobilnosti se samodejno izvaja v ozadju, da se lahko osredotočimo na stvari, ki nam v življenju pomenijo največ.
So, hey, we will continue with our coffee break. With me is Bastian Mark Schultenmeier. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Close enough, I would say.
Great, great. So you're based here in Slovenia, and and I would like really with you to discuss about, your topic. And what I learned is that you did some homework and that you will take us through this journey so that we are full with energy, as you saw earlier. So a lot of results on our questions. Sergey, so please just take us.
Yeah, so thanks again for having us. Thank you everybody for joining. My name is Bastian Mark Scholtenmeier. As Daniel mentioned, I'm one of the solution architects here in A1 Slovenia, focusing on digital products. And today I would like to share with you a couple of innovations that we have recently launched. As you probably know, A1 Slovenia, at least from the Slovenian market, we are the second largest telco provider here in Slovenia, but also more importantly, maybe part of a larger group, so the A1 group, where we are present in most of Central Europe, down towards Belarus even. And this gives us a certain advantage when we're talking about the digitalization of services, because we can learn from many different markets. And as such, we have been looking at how the market has been developing, so preparing the infrastructure for proper digitalization. I think everybody in Slovenia by now knows that also 5G is coming soon, which is an entire topic on its own. But again, paving the way towards new products and services. And when I was watching already a little bit earlier, I really liked the question of the previous session, which came up that asked, how do we monetize the data within the whole context of mobility? So I have a couple of things prepared that I would like to share with you. So I will share my screen. And discuss a little bit with you about what we have been doing so far. Like I said, we are part of a larger group, so we have been heavily investing into the proper infrastructure. I heard already a couple of things coming by regarding IoT platforms and so on, which obviously we have now ready to take advantage of on top of these new solutions that I will guide you through. One of them is Mobility Insights. And Mobility Insights is a really interesting product from the perspective of understanding how mobility works within a country. So we are able to take our analytics gathered from our network and see how masses of people are moving geographically. And this gives us a couple of advantages when we are discussing the, let's say, road infrastructure or public transport infrastructure of a country, and see how the information that is exposed and obtained from our networks can actually aid in the planning of that infrastructure. So this is definitely not a product that on individual level sees where everybody is going. We gather the data from our network in an anonymized way, so there is no way to see that that Bastian right now is in Ljubljana, obviously, because we have to respect the European guidelines here, so everything is GDPR compliant. But it does give you a couple of other advantages. Like, for example, understanding what the inflow of customers is towards your points of sale, so that you can understand why certain weeks might have resulted in better revenue than others. Another thing would be to understand not just how many customers come to your points of sale, but where are they coming from? So from a marketing perspective, it gives you a much better insight in your demographic to say, like, okay, are we expecting a lot of customers from Slovenia? As you might know, right next to me in the A1 headquarters in Ljubljana, the IKEA is preparing for its launch. And such a tool could give valuable insight to understand, okay, which proportion of the customers is actually coming from the domestic market, and which proportion of the customers is coming, for example, from Croatia or Austria or different countries. And of course, there is another question that you can ask yourself, and that is, are your customers leaving you for the competition? So by defining certain GPS coordinates together with artificial intelligence, we are able to see, like, okay, you now know how many customers came to your points of sale, but how many customers actually went after your points of sale to the store of the competition? And when you start combining that with marketing data that you have from within your own company, let's say from your campaign management systems, you start to understand or get at least a better picture of why the influx of customers in a particular area was higher, or why the outflow of customers towards the competition was higher because maybe they launched a competing product during that period. So you get a better understanding of customer behavior in that way. Another thing which I haven't touched on in this case could be, you know, the expansion of your shopping network. So if I, as A1 Slovenia, for example, wanted to open another store in a particular city, using mobility insights, I would be able to determine what would be the most appropriate location, looking at the flow of people that will pass by that particular location. So in summary, it gives a lot of insight in how on a country level the flow of people actually behaves, and combining that with your internal information, like I said, for example, can make campaign management systems or other data that you have with AI on platforms that we can support you with. Obviously, you get a much better insight in your demographic. Another product that we are quite interested in launching now on the Slovenian market is Vialytics, with a partner from Germany, which is a very interesting product when it comes to detecting the state of the roads in the cities. So again, very much geared towards mobility. But now not so much in terms of how people are moving, but more focused on the infrastructure that they drive on. And when you take a look at the presentation that I'm sharing, and I will play you a short video.
Bastian, just to say, we have 2 minutes till the end, so
I will close it. Yeah.
Yeah, no progress.
You will see that the artificial intelligence here is detecting all the road damage in real time and allows you to give you an overview of where that road damage then occurred. For example, there in the lower left corner, you can see in a Google Maps type of setup where the most road damage is, and then you can plan accordingly to plan your roadworks. And this is a very great tool to actually get insight into where the damage of your infrastructure is, because most cities actually do not even have insights into this. Considering the time, I think that is pretty much as deep as we can go, other than the fact that I can mention that this is, of course, all GDPR compliant. As you can see, that this is real-time blacked out in terms of license plates or faces on the streets. So we are all compliant. One maybe last closing note is that specifically for the energy industry, we are planning an event pretty soon that focuses on some of the challenges in other parts of the industry verticals and how to deal with that. So everybody that is watching this is, of course, very much invited to join us in the Grand Hotel Union in Ljubljana on the 30th of September, together with our partners.
Thank you, Bastian. So I would like really to thank you, Petrol, Zavarovalnica Triglav, and A1's Slovenia to help us really a little bit entertain and experience the coffee break in a different way. Usually we would shake hands and exchange business cards and digital cards and so on. And now also this was quite a new experience for us all. So thank you again, and I'm giving back work to Petra.
Thank you very much.
Hello, we are back in Mobility Summit City as a Lab. We hope you enjoyed the coffee break. And now we are going on with our third panel. It will be about innovation in mobility. Daniel will explain all about it.
Well, we all know mobility is facing many challenges, and they are driven by emerging technologies. And this is impossible without innovation.
So the key to success is innovation?
Yes, we will hear financial institutions around Triglav, how they are reshaping mobility. And after we'll hear amazing conversation between special guests from Silicon Valley. They are coming from HP Ventures and Boeing Ventures. That will be quite powerful fireside chat and quite unique. After fireside chat, the Mercedes-Benz Daimler organization will talk not about vehicles, what we all expect, but they will talk about their cloud offering. In the future, they want to even compete with Apple, Google, and Microsoft.
Okay, Daniel, thank you very much for your interesting words. And now the first key speaker is Mr. Petar Filip Jakopić from Slovenian insurance company, Zavarovalnica Triglav.
Hello, my name is Petar Filip Jakopić. I work for Zavarovalnica Triglav in the area of casualty and property insurance, where I lead the team for underwriting and product development. I wish you a pleasant and informative day at the conference on my behalf and on the behalf of Zavarovalnica Triglav. Mobility as a feature or trend has been a part of our lives and habits for a while now. Insurance companies are also adapting to these changes as we wish to offer our clients insurance coverage for risks in the area of mobility to the greatest possible extent. In connection with today's conference topic, I will present some solutions and products that Zavarovalnica Triglav has developed and added to its portfolio. I will also shed a light on some of the issues that will have a major impact on future developments in this area, as well as some of the various forms of insurance. First, I would like to mention our upgrade of car insurance, which we named Automobility, and gave 3 optional layers intended for micro-mobility vehicle users, where we include not only normal bicycles, scooters, skateboards, etc., but also their modern e-versions like e-scooter, e-bike, and so on. New requirements of the modern lifestyle and new options made possible by technological advances have spurred the development of new and diverse forms of mobility and vehicles. These vehicles are becoming a normal way of transport on streets and pavements in our everyday lives. Their number is growing daily, and their use exposes users to numerous risks. Laws that will regulate operation at these vehicles are still being developed. The 3 optional layers of automobility are therefore: the first one, liability and assistance for micro-mobility vehicle users. The second one is luggage insurance. And the third one is rehabilitation after accident in traffic, which includes medical costs like complex diagnostics, ambulatory and medical rehabilitation. We are also developing and preparing some solutions and upgrades of existing products that will enable casco insurance for micro-mobility vehicles as well. The sharing economy is also one of the current trends that presents business opportunities for insurance companies. Zavarovalnica Triglav, for instance, participated in the development of a platform for individuals' daily vehicle rent in cooperation with its partner called Giro Carshare. This fleet consists of vehicles owned by members of the community. The scope of Giro product enables comprehensive car insurance for motor vehicle sharing. It ensures all the necessary coverage and assistance services for carefree driving. This insurance includes the vehicle owner bonus protection and does not include any deductible. Insurance can be taken out via the Giro app user interface. The insurance premium is paid by the vehicle lessee. Insurance is taken out in accordance with the pay-per-usage as called concept and is implemented in cost value for our users. In the area of car insurance, telematics is becoming ever more relevant and is often used by insurance companies to differentiate policyholders. For this purpose, Zavarovalnica Triglav developed the Drive application and reached more than 135,000 of its customers. We are offering customers car insurance premium discounts based on data regarding their driving habits. Our app has more than 51,000 monthly active users that have logged over 500 million driven kilometers and recorded at average approximately 26,000 trips daily. Soon we'll offer some new functionalities in the application which will help our clients become better and safer drivers. At the end of my presentation, I would like to share our expectations regarding changes in the area of car insurance with regard to self-driving cars. The traffic regime will be based on decisions made by artificial intelligence. People in vehicles will mostly assume passenger roles and the driver role will be replaced by the vehicle operator role, similar to the case where the pilot is a plane operator even when the autopilot is switched on. The complexity of the related risks is further enhanced by the growing number of cyber risks. In accordance with the risks in vehicle autonomy, liability for vehicle use is supposed to gradually move from drivers to car manufacturers. This raises a number of ethical dilemmas that we will have to resolve to define liability or relationships in cases of loss events among various traffic participants, such as operators, passengers, claimants, car manufacturers, infrastructure managers, etc. One of the most typical dilemmas is reacting in critical situations. Whom will we choose to protect in critical situations? Drivers of our own vehicles, weaker participants, or those involved that did not break any rules? Another important issue are safety systems that prevent drivers from intentionally violating traffic rules, such as not allowing drivers that are too short to drive, preventing speeding, etc. Without the possibility of switching them off, this becomes an ethical issue as well, as such systems prevent humans from acting according to their own free will. Will we humans really be ready and willing to leave these kinds of decisions to artificial intelligence, or will we want to take them ourselves? However, this is already a topic for another discussion. That would be all from my side. Thank you for your attention and I hope you have a great summit.
Thank you, Mr. Peter Filip Jakopic. As we heard, insurance company is working with startups to become a serious player in mobility. So from Europe, let's go overseas in Silicon Valley and see how they work with startups. So let's listen to fireside chat from Silicon Valley between Abhishek Shukla, Managing Director at HPE Ventures, and Damine Mycroft, Investing Director, Boeing Horizon X Ventures. Moderator will be Daniel Augadic. So Daniel, the floor is yours.
For this kind of introduction of us all, and hey team, welcome to the fireside chat. So I will start with first, Damine, thank you for joining us. And what I learned is that you are an investment principal for Boeing Horizon X Venture, based in Silicon Valley, and Abhishek Shukla, he moved from GE Venture and Cisco prior to HP Pathfinder Venture. So, and Abhishek, we were honored last year in 2019 to have you in person speaking at our event. So, how is different now being online versus prior to being in person here in Europe, in Slovenia?
Yeah, no, it's surreal. First of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity. I think last year it was great. It was the first time I visited Slovenia. You guys were, are greatly hospitable, but at the same time, the event, the content, the people, the networking, I think all was super, and I really enjoyed my time there. Obviously, I would have loved to come back, be back there for the second time, but given the gloom and the bad which you can see in California fires and all the things around the pandemic, this is the best we'll have to make this year. But looking forward to this conversation and happy to be here.
Yeah, and no worry. Next year we have another opportunity to do it in person. But what we were doing on the event last year was really building an ecosystem between executives from different brands to exchange and learn from each other. And now we are doing this virtually. So, Dominic, now in this time when we all work from home, how difficult it is to build ecosystem, how difficult it is to engage and basically innovate and work with startups, and how the let's say we see community prioritized now in this time.
So great question. There's a lot to unpack there. I think starting in March, we really started going into different phases. The first phase was really focusing on internal portfolio, figuring out what this all means, the world of unknown, and really figuring out where the portfolio companies that pivot, where are the portfolio companies that are in triage, and how do we help them? And then I think as time has passed and we've kind of figured out what the new norms are going to be, it's been tough doing due diligence, especially in our business where there's a lot of networking and face-to-face and human interaction and getting to know their founders and fellow colleagues. So I think in that sense, it's been challenging in not being able to travel and actually see the offices and the interactions and the culture that exists. So I think everyone is adapting and getting to know what the new norm is and figuring out how long we'll have to continue this. But we've certainly kind of gone through the cycle of panic and trying to figure out what this unknown in reality is to kind of getting a grasp around how we can address it and how do we need to adapt. So I think that's kind of been our journey for the past 6 months now, or 7 months.
So what I learned is that we just adapt what we humans do for thousands and thousands of years. And Abhishek, how you adapt that, because you work globally on almost all continents, and now with all these restrictions, and how you manage to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Depending upon the geography, the world is a very different place today. If it's Asia, some of the people, some of the geographies have moved on. Pandemic isn't the biggest challenge they have. Europe, somewhat similar. You guys know this better. America is still firmly in the grip. So with Latin America. So as I look out to my team, whether it's in India or in Israel or talking to them across Asia, I think a couple of things are happening. One, people like to get comfort in in their existing deals. So irrespective of the geography, what you're seeing is people are going back to their successful portfolio companies and doubling down on them. More specifically in the US, you see that happening quite a lot. But in the early stage, like if you're in Asia, the business is it's not completely as usual, but it's getting close to that. Whereas in the US, I think it's fairly depressed in terms of if you're an early stage company, unless you are a super credible founder or you have a lot of interesting VCs and a super awesome technology. It's going to be challenging for you to raise fund at this time. Not to mention that it can't happen, but it's just more challenging. However, if you are a late stage company and you have done well, the capital hasn't gone away, irrespective of you being in Asia or in Europe or in Americas. In fact, people have more capital to deploy. If you compare the last year I think it was 55 billion or so. This year it's about 60 billion or so year till date. Point being, there's more capital lurking around with lesser places to go. What that means is, in the later stage, you see a lot of companies raising huge valuations. You guys all read about this. A lot of rounds being led, and for a change, for the past about Damine talked about that. World is getting normal a little bit, so you start seeing the tech companies thinking about IPOs. So last month and this month, there's about 7 companies going for an IPO. That is a fantastic change of pace, if you will, than what it has been since we all got here.
Yeah, it's really, well, we see this progress going on. But what we also see is that a lot of industries are at crossroads, and basically they are entering to new markets. So, for example, Boeing, is also now more and more active in the space of, let's say, urban air mobility, how we will travel in mega cities in third dimension. And there are a couple of opportunities over there.
Yeah, we actually last year announced our joint venture with Mihawk, and the new company is called WISC, and it is a commitment in what the future of mobility will be like. When you think about the time saved versus sitting in congested area, congested traffic, and this pandemic has also given us more information on what will the future of travel look like in terms of passengers feeling confident getting on these platforms, and really from the journey that it starts from you booking all the way to gate check-in. And how do we, as an OEM, play in the world of the passenger journey and bring that confidence now with the pandemic in mind, and still ensure that what the future holds in terms of autonomy, electrification, and giving back that precious time that you have back to your passengers. So we've taken a lot of bets in our venture portfolio as well. With our investment in Matternet, which actually has been terrific in the pandemic, delivering medical supplies to senior citizens, and taking out a lot of those touch points. So we still remain very committed in this area and have made investments and continue to follow on and look for new opportunities.
Yeah, so the investment in WISC is really amazing. We are following it. Also, you did some amazing partnerships with Porsche on working on different concepts, which we are keen to hear in future more about it.
It's all about the ecosystem, not just about
ecosystem. It's about really partnership. Who thought that automotive OEM and aerospace OEM will work on joint approach? But also HPE is playing a role in mobility space, mainly investing in startups from emerging technologies like edge computing, quantum computing, cybersecurity, and so on. And what would be interesting that after our talk, the next speaker is coming from Daimler. He will talk about cloud offering built on HPE technology. So, Abhishek, how HPE will support this new mobility and the future of mobility with
I think a couple of threads there. One is obviously around the compute. There's a lot of data, a lot of sensors which are on any autonomous vehicle or any autonomous mobility vehicle. So all of that data needs to be crunched. Cloud is not an option because you can't incur the ingress egress fees, or there's just the latency requirement isn't there. So you will be computing there, which means you need compute which doesn't drain off your battery if it's an EV, so that before you start your Tesla car, in 10 miles it gives up because compute is given. So I think efficient compute is one part. The second part is about how do you secure all of that data? Everything is now automatic through your app and face recognition. And the autopilot capabilities. It makes it as easy to hack because everything is connected. All the sensors are talking to each other. How do you trust the platform which you're running on? Essentially, can I spoof, you to say, okay, you are running on Tesla's latest generation GPU product versus, some bad actor. The idea is security will be rooted not just in software, it will go down all the way to the hardware root of trust, which is where we are spending quite a lot of effort looking at a lot of startups come in the domain. The other piece is around not everything is IP, internet protocol, right? Not everything goes through TCP IP. There's a lot of, CAN buses in an automotive sector. There are a lot of other protocols which are there. How do you make sure that you're securing the data across these protocols, across these sensors? And the first and formidable challenge is for you to even understand what's going on. And I think that's an area of our active investment interest, where we are investing OT technologies, OT security companies. And then the compute piece, which I talked about, coming back to it, not every super sophisticated deep learning algorithm needed to be run on every camera in every car. How do you define the sophistication level of a DLL, and what kind of data does it crunch? That will depend upon the kind of compute parameters that will depend upon the platform which you put in place. And we are looking at a couple of companies which you design your deep learning algorithm once, and then you can put it on a camera in call it 50 MB, or you can put it on a temperature sensor to tell you hot or cold for 100 KB. The point is, same thing, different purpose. How do you improvise? The end result being you should be able to act in time. You should be able to process a lot of data still in time, and then while doing all of this, still be secure.
Yeah, it's per year, 100 million vehicles are sold globally, and more intelligent they are becoming. And then we will get, the flying car, air taxis, VTOLs as well. So it's quite a lot of work. But before we conclude this fireside chat, which is really, quite exciting, Abhishek, I would kindly ask you, so in these times, how startups and large organization can approach HPE venture?
Yeah, so I'll let Damini answer this as well for Boeing. But I think for us, it is, nothing has changed. Focus on the fundamentals. Focus on creating a company. Don't worry about funding to begin with. Worry about, the product market fit. Worry about, is there a big enough market? What has happened during these times is the rationale, or if a person or if an entrepreneur is still going and creating a company today, I think that is a testament that that person really believes in that vision or in that idea. That itself is great, a great confidence booster. But focus on the fundamentals, assemble a great team, and then if you come to HPE or you go to Boeing, I think what we are looking for is not just to hand you a check, but also how can a story 1 + 1 = 3 can be realized. And as long as you guys focus on that, or the entrepreneurs focus on that, I think it's a win-win. So, yeah, dynamic.
Yeah, that was spot on. I think that we've all heard that great companies come during these times, back in 2008 and 2000. So we're still very much actively looking, and coming full circle, we're definitely looking for
course, folks that are adaptive and really are able to partner with Boeing beyond just that financial check that we write, but also like how can we bring strategic benefit or value to the startup. So very much looking forward to working with entrepreneurs in this space, and please contact me.
Yeah, thank you both for these, charming invitations, and I think quite a lot of, our audience will be quite excited to reach out to you both. So once again, thank you for being here, and all the best, from Europe, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
The fireside chat was really hot and relevant for mobility. Thank you all. And now, Mr. Vlado Koljibabic, Head of Cloud Mobility in Mercedes-Benz, is now with us. As I announced, he will be talking about clouds and creating solutions they want to compete with Apple and even with Google. Mr. Koljibabic, welcome.
Hi, my name is Vlado Koljibabic, and I'm from Mercedes-Benz AG and responsible for cloud mobility. What I would like to share with you today is the core challenges that we see for non-corporates to build state-of-the-art technology and how we are going to solve that in our context and also to create a product out of that approach. Core challenges that we see are clustered from our learnings of the last couple of years are in 4 areas: talent, culture, steering, and customer. Talent is obvious. Everybody is heading for the great people that are doing a great job, that are excellent skilled in software engineering and pushing really things hard and getting goals achieved. The cultural aspect is not just taking care for all the soft aspects of culture, and this is of course super important. It's also part of the tough game that you have. For example, people in place that are really striving for goals and that they love to be measured. Next topic about steering, it's a little bit more global context. And to explain that quickly, as an established industry company like Daimler, building cars now for over 130 years, we are excellently positioned in getting the right business cases out of our product and getting them good tuned in that way. Nevertheless, from a venture perspective that you see and learn in the Silicon Valley, there are different approaches how to get things done and how to steer them also. And this is something you have to add as secret sauce also into your game. And finally, you have to put real customer centricity in place when you go to build a product. And I mean, this is not really a secret and a new thing here, but especially we recognize that too often and in many cases as something that is going more in parallel, that there are teams that are building a great product, but delivering out of that an engineering puzzle and not taking too much the customer pain point in place. So you have to bring that also very close together. How we're going to tackle that in a cloud mobility context? We have, of course, a meaningful vision, and I will share that in a couple of seconds. But let me also explain the other 4 topics that are written here on this slide. Best of 2 worlds, what we understand with this term is bringing the clear and great knowledge out of your own corporate and your DNA into the game by bringing also the great learnings that we have out of the huge tech areas like the Silicon Valley in place. And that means really bring it close together. So just don't head for one of these things. Yeah? That's maybe leading to the next hype of having labs and hubs in place and that they're maybe not delivering the right value out of the game. So you have to mix up and bring both together and mix up also the right mixture of strengths into each other. Next topic, high performance culture. I mentioned that already before. And I mean, that doesn't mean that we don't have at Mercedes a high performance culture, and I would even say there isn't clear already in place. But here's specifically the topic meant that you need to foster and to keep in mind that people are loved to be measured in their daily routines and in their daily delivery. And this is something really specific what we learned. how this is going also to motivate people to having concrete goals and heading for them on a daily basis. Also, what I mentioned already before, having product technology roadmaps in place that are really customer-centric is super crucial and important. If you just keep the engineering piece, this may be leading to the engineering puzzle I mentioned before, and you have to bring always the feedback from your users and your customers into place to evolve your product roadmap further. And KPIs, that stands for itself, yeah, being measurable, being clear on what you're going to deliver and what to achieve is something we think also part of the secret sauce. How we're translating that now, very concrete, is our vision at Cloud Mobility is enabling seamless mobility and transportation for our customers. Yeah? We think this is very meaningful, and we learned that also during the last couple of months when we started to approach people to join also our approach. It seems something that people recognize it's worth to be part of that game, and at least giving us enough confidence to the data we are collecting that we have to go further here in that case. And how we went further is also how we developed our mission out of that. And our mission is, let's deliver the best experience around customer and car data for software engineers. Because if you see who is consuming a cloud, then we usually talk about people that build software. And these are software engineers, so you should better do a great job towards them and offer them the right services and products so that they enjoy their work and have an easier work to deliver and on their goals and their commitments they made in their teams. How we do that in a specific way in our context is also when we deliver and develop our cloud mobility product, we are specifically searching for key challenges within Mercedes. I mean, not just delivering a software piece in that case, it's really something that's going to solve already by today a problem on Mercedes side. And this is helping us then to build a special purpose cloud that fulfills already by now first customer needs. And in that case, and in the final step, we are creating and trying to create then insights out of the specific processes that we set up and out of the specific products that we brought in place to get mobility and transportation cloud done. And this is something that helped us within the last couple of months to drive this journey further. What is cloud mobility? And to bring it into quick words, as I already said, it's a special purpose public cloud that we are developing. It's heavily relying on open source in that way. We are giving back sovereignty about the data to our users and customers. This we try to achieve through specific data inventories that are incorporated in our products, and we hope and think that this is enabling in the mobility and transportation space new services for our customers and also for us on Mercedes side in that case. Why we think a special purpose cloud is needed. If you see, and you all know that, what great job all big hyperscalers already did within the last couple of years and doing now, then you can imagine that there are also specific topics you need to consider if this thing is going to evolve further. And looking in our industry, mobility and transport, there are still unsolved challenges. And these unsolved challenges, for example, are autonomous driving. If you want to fix autonomous driving, you have to fulfill a very specific demand and need to solve this very, very complex and heavy problem in that case. And we think that this is currently not offered in the market, and this specific challenge will also help us derive a specific product within the next couple of years further down the road. And if you compare and see already what is going to happen in special purpose cloud segments, there are already announcements by Microsoft a couple of months ago that they're going now to build a special purpose cloud for healthcare. It's a huge industry, it's a very, very huge market. And we see also that this will maybe evolve in other industries like mobility and transportation. So let's be better prepared and start acting proactively in that area. And this is another reason why it makes sense to start approaching this business, and why this is also very supportive for a sustainable future, especially in our case for Mercedes-Benz. I explained a little bit what core key challenges we see in a non-corporate tech world and how you can approach it to improve and to solve serious business challenges in the mobility and transport world. And also how you can even more evolve a business out of that in that space. If you're interested in more, please join the session in the upcoming days in the round table talk. Happy to see you there. Happy to receive your questions. Stay tuned and healthy.
Thank you for your time and your forecast. And now it is time for our today's last roundtable. Mr. Leonard Kühne-Hilmissen will be moderator, and he and his guests will explain why innovation is new fuel and what new trends are shaping our new future. Mr. Kühne-Hilmissen, welcome.
Hello. Great to be here. My name is Leonard Kühne-Helmissen. I work at Exilium, a boutique consultancy with focus on mobility and digitalization. Our vision is to bring together the major players in the mobility ecosystem and shape the future of the mobility. I'm from Berlin, which is, such as Ljubljana, one of the great startup and mobility hubs in Europe, I guess. And thanks, Daniel, and your team for the opportunity and having me and all my guests at our summit. For today's panel, the mobility race is on, innovation is a new fuel. I'm delighted that I have with me today Vlado Kolibabic, Head of Cloud Mobility at Mercedes-Benz. Hello, welcome. And Zoran Milosevic, the Chief Innovation and Digital Officer from the Slovenian insurance company Triglav. I also welcome. I also like to welcome our audience to this roundtable and invite all of you to ask questions and engage in our discussion in the chat function. The intersection of technology innovations such as electrification, connectivity, and automation with business model innovations such as shared mobility and seamless multimodality are fundamentally changing the way we move people and goods. And this has created a massive opportunity for many companies. And in today's roundtable, we would like to learn how established companies like Triglav and Daimler, with over 100 years of existence, still stay innovative, especially in the fast-paced mobility space. I would like to explore how different game-changing businesses and technology trends are shaping the future of mobility, which already leads to my first question. Zoran, how is an incumbent like Triglav working with startups, talents, accelerating innovation internally?
Yeah, it's nice to be in such an important company. So hi. As a 120 years old incumbent, we have, of course, adapt our strategy. Our mission or our vision is not just to accelerate innovation, but also, most importantly, how to transform the core, how to be as simple as possible, to have easy customer experiences and to be word of trust. There are two segments. One is core and another one is innovation. So we have adapted our new digital appearance. We are now on a new level, mobile responsive design level. So our digital solutions are completely mobile friendly now. And we are also focused on digital onboarding of our customers, but not only with the help of digital tools, but also with the help of our agents. So we are really focused on omni-channel. This was really important also for doing business in exceptional situations like Corona epidemic. But in the field of agile cooperative contributor, let's talk about innovation now. We are not only we not only have developed our internal innovation framework for boost internal innovation, but we are proactively involved with startups to leverage technology adoption or test pilots a new business model. For the first one, the technology adoption, we have our telematic app Drive. My colleague described this application more detailedly before this roundtable. So I will go more deeply into it, but we started collaboration also with Nurtec for driving simulator. We are looking for perspective new business models. So we started collaboration with Giro Car Share for peer-to-peer car sharing, and also micromobility with Eskiro scooters. So to wrap up this question, investing in individual innovation can take place in two different ways. So with, let's say, dedicated funds, where we test the operation of innovation in our environment with a combination of our own development, but also with the help of an external partner. And we are entering into various forms of partnerships. So it could be acquisition, it could be convertible loan, it could be ownership shares. But the purpose is the financial support of an external partner for testing and subsequent exclusive use of the product service. So we are present on many of the, let's say, innovation fields.
Well, thank you for this interesting insight and also point of view. You have definitely a wide portfolio and wide network of partnerships there, also in the mobility space. I will come back to this in more detail in a moment. We have with us also Mr. Vlado Kulibabic, Vlado from Mercedes-Benz, who's currently working at the next big thing at this company, Cloud Mobility, a cloud solution for the mobility sector, especially interesting for cities and public transportation companies, but also, as you mentioned in the video before, software developer and data specialist. Vlado, how is an OEM like Daimler working with startups, talents, and accelerating innovation internally? And how do you apply these innovation drivers in your current project?
So thanks also for this question, and also happy to have the opportunity speaking in this round. I mean, just quick also before I come to your direct question, I mean, a company like Daimler, now over 130 years in the market, somehow already also showed, like Triglav, like Zoran also explained, that there are mechanisms in place to survive down the road and to also keep with challenges that came around the corner also in the past quite well. So, but what is now different, and why we bring the startup context so heavily also into our thoughts is, I mean, there's this small thing that started to develop 40 years ago, where software becomes more an engineering factor. And of course, we are a heavy engineering company, but in the physical world. So how to make this piece better fitting to the demands of our customers and also better fitting to the demands of our products, to get a better market fit. This is one of the biggest challenges in that area. And what also is not surprising, the speed, how startup in the software area are driving things forward is something that's also, we need to take a serious look into that and to find then the way of adapting it into our context. So this is opening. And what's going on Daimler side, I mean, company, 300,000 people, you can also imagine that there are many things ongoing in that area. And first of all, what I also recognized in the speech with the Boeing colleagues before, there's also a super professional M&A area for tech investments. First of all, organizationally established. I mean, these are the guys that are doing really the tough things, when you need to close a deal, when you need to define a term sheet and to agree to details and to derive then a contract out of that, and in partnership this has also to come to an end, and they are really, really great connected in the world and in the ecosystems, and also observing quite carefully the current developments there. And what we are doing then also on the cultural side is that we are just involving people in the company much closer to these endeavors, because finalizing a deal in a tech environment is something when you already learned that something is bringing value to your own strength in that area. And the way how these things are going to evolve, Daimler developed for itself a concept that we call, for example, Startup Autobahn, coming directly from the valley, that we deployed over the globe in Singapore, in Germany, as one example, where we bring startups very close to our divisional experts, so that they also see and observe and get an impression about what's going on, to adopt this idea as good as they can. They use 100 days approaches, mean startup and business guys are working for 100 days quite closely together and trying then to derive the right portion of value for both sides in that game. Another example, and I saw also in the participant list, we established for our marketing and sales division for Mercedes-Benz cars, a specific program that we call the Builders, yeah, with friends in Israel and Tel Aviv, especially in that case, where we also observing in quite consistent process the market on site, discussing very closely with the startups, try to understand what kind of value they try to create for themselves and how we can, of course, help them and participating in their roadmap and in their journey in that way. So you see, there are different mechanisms and angles how you can attack that, yeah. And it's always a piece where you learn every day a little bit more. And this is, of course, also part of the process that you need to put these learnings back into the game to get even more traction and even more out of the game for all involved there. Yeah, it's not just a Daimler game or Mercedes game, it's also making the partner successful in that area, and that's bringing then both strengths together.
Well, thank you for your answer. Coming back to the cloud mobility, no one would expect an OEM to develop a cloud solution. I think, yeah. What are the drivers for this, and what changes can we expect in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, also a good question because super broad. Yeah, you can answer it from many angles. Let me start with something really obvious, where I think also the people in this round are quite close to that. So what everybody recognized is, I mean, data seems to be something important. Yeah, and what is becoming heavier is getting something valuable out of it. Yeah, so we are putting a lot of efforts as incumbents in this game, yeah, into it, yeah, and as many others that we're observing are also putting a lot of efforts, yeah. But getting really close to this game is also needing a lot of technology, yeah. And if you then just do the next step is, I mean, technology is still built by people, and the question is then how to get in touch and these people on board that are able to build the technology that is needed to get the right value out of data. And this is, I mean, the first, when the board gave us the first time to check the first hypothesis, yeah, and we really build it up as an venture in that game. The first hypothesis was just, are we capable to get the right people on board to start such a journey? Because if you don't get it, I mean, you can, you know, write a lot of concepts and PowerPoints and stuff like that, yeah, but you will never make it in that game, yeah. So I think we proved quite well that this is possible, that you can get this talent on board to start heading for such a vision. And basically, if you look into the business contexts, and it was also already said by the colleague that talked before from the Silicon Valley, I mean, data is something that will really just continue to explode. Yeah, and also Daniel said, I mean, currently 100 million vehicles per year in the context. If you just put now in this context autonomous driving in, then you can imagine what this would mean for data. Yeah, and here the basic ideas. Products are still not ready, so the services are still not ready. The underlying technologies are still not ready and in place, and you should better start taking care to push that forward, not just for yourself, but also for the offerings for your customers. And this is one of the main drivers why we think let's become prepared in that area, and it will become anyhow tough game from now on.
Definitely, that's definitely a huge challenge, especially to compete against players like, yeah, let's say Microsoft or AWS. But as
And
we
maybe
know,
if I'm just quick,
yes.
also add. So I mean, it's even not really competing with them, to be honest, because this is something where we also say, hey, it's a different market segment, and it was also already told before. This is why we also call it special purpose. It's a specific niche in mobility and transportation that we're recognizing. And also, as you said, yeah, cities like Berlin or Ljubljana is doing that now in a very obvious way. There will be also rules and legislations around that, where you just need to think about where just to put your data in. Yeah, and if then your only answer is let's do it already with the existing one, and then maybe just not fitting to your legal frame where you're operating in, then you maybe already will suffer first challenges in that way. And we just try to start filling this gap maybe that is here existing. So it's not about challenge; it's more or less searching for the opportunity that's occurring.
That's yeah, business model innovation is a constant in today's economy, and if you have a vision, and suddenly there can be a new angle, yeah, as well. Zoran, we heard about a few of your innovations at Triglav in the coffee break session already. What impact on your traditional insurance products do new applications like you mentioned Triglav Drive and new platforms such as the motion simulator have?
Yeah, I mean, these applications certainly made us look younger as a company. That's one thing. That's not so unimportant, because you have to address younger segment, and this is really important channel for us. But seriously, a lower claim frequency and lower average claim in segment of telematics, that brings us space for lower premium. So there is also economic logic behind it. But nevertheless, if we saved just one life because of our new application or solution, it should be a good reason to continue with the good work, I would say so. Another lesson learned is also, I read this on your webpage, Leo, that nothing is built to last unless it's built to evolve. So we are evolving our drive ecosystem together with our new partnership with Sygic. Sygic is one of the global leaders in navigation and location-based services. So these are expertise that we don't have, and we are seeking and looking for partnership to bring solution, completely new solution, completely new ideas maybe in our future. Because it's been 5 years now since we launched the Drive application. This was first telematic application in Slovenia. The number of users is still rising, so approximately 2,000 per year, per month. Just for information, we have recorded more than 500 million kilometers. This was safe kilometers with good score. So every day we record 26,000 trips. For a small country like Slovenia, this is not a small thing. So our aim is to expand the Drive application from pure telematics to a really true ecosystem platform for mobility services. We will add additionally, ride sharing, car sharing. Most likely for our internal customers first, but then we will see. There are also many other ideas also how to connect with traffic signals like green wave solutions. This is really important part of our partnership with Sygic. So how to smart navigate in case of traffic jam or accident. We will seek for parking space solutions and partnerships also with parking space sharing, etc. So yeah, it's important. Lesson learned is also that you have to put effort all the time. So if the energy is not 100%, then then you will lose customer, you will lose score, and it's really a lot of effort needed to be successful with alternative solution, I would say so.
Yeah, sounds also quite interesting, and also like Vlado mentioned, all about data. How are your plans as insurance company? Are you becoming maybe a data-driven company in this process?
I mean, of course, the right data on the right time is very important for practically all of our decision-making processes in the company. We have a special BI department, and we are working very hard on that part also. But not only to have agile and prompt, let's say, business reports, but we are working also on how to monetize the data that we already have, and how to learn from this data in a way to offer this value of data to our customers, to give the value back to the customer. But to be honest, you have to be realistic about the market you're doing business in. What is your customer base, average age of customer? So to be really honest, the customers are still very price sensitive, very cost oriented, not so much in what data could bring to the customer. But if you develop a solution, for instance, not drive related, but for instance, we developed our own video remote assessment tool, which is a web application allowing you to view objects live through customers' smartphone. So in a Corona situation, in a Corona lockdown, it's really important tool to have to do business continuously. And we will add to this development of remote assessment tool. We will continue development in a direction of AI for automatic damage assessment. We have a lot of data, of course. We are an insurance company. We have a lot of pictures of damaged vehicles. So we are now trying to build solutions also together with partnerships like Azure, Microsoft, etc., and to use our own data in this process. So I would say that we are becoming data-driven company, as you asked, but we are making a bet, so to speak, on a partnerships, on a cooperation with companies that are complementary to our business, because I personally believe that there are still a lot of unknown possibilities and scenarios, and we don't really know how things will evolve. And I think that mobility future does not only depend on one player. We will see a lot of action on IoT, connected cars, GPS. Especially IoT with 5G brings us a lot of opportunities and also some questions to solve. There must be, of course, regulation for additional implementation of practically every solution, and we have to, in a way, step together, and certain problems should be solved together. Otherwise, I don't believe it will. It will be chaotic. Too many applications, too many solutions doesn't bring the best value to customers, by my opinion. But we'll see.
That is definitely a good point, that partnerships bring us further together. Coming to my second guest again, and to my last, and I think also important question, not also for my guest Vlado, but also for the guests and viewers within our audience. Vlado, how can cities or public transportation authorities or other stakeholders approach Mercedes-Benz Cloud Mobility to partner?
To partner, yeah. Well, this is an excellent question, because we're also considering that. So from a partnership point of view, but the easiest way before you immediately think about how to partner is I invite people also in that round, and also the city of Ljubljana, and in that case, just to start searching out how the product is, yeah, and what benefits we can offer in such a context. Because if you get an impression about the product and the team that is building that, then a partnership is becoming more obvious and could be derived further in that case, yeah. So as also these big Silicon Valley investors are doing, yeah, let's get an impression about the product. Product is reachable in the internet about cloudmobility.io. Yeah, there we are explaining a lot of things, but if you have software developers in your area, they can immediately start to attack it and to use it. That's the easiest way. So this is what software driven means. And then I'm happy to get in touch with the listeners here, and then we can try to dig deeper and try to figure out what a partnership would mean there. I'm happy to, and really looking forward.
Great, thank you. I have to look at the time. I think we are almost done. I think we are done with the session. I really want to thank you both for joining me today in the panel. And I really looking forward to hearing from both from your companies and the future developments you will reach. Thank you. Have a great day.
Leo, Vlado, nice meeting you.
Ciao, Zoran.
Ciao.
Dear audience, to conclude the first day of Mobility Summit 2020 City as a Lab, I say hello to moderator Daniel Audagic to wrap up this meaningful day. Hello again, Daniel. Please, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Today was an amazing day. So many great speakers, so many great brands, so many great visions and approaches to define the new mobility. Today, we covered 3 topics: smart cities, mobility as a service, and innovation in mobility. We were hearing how cities will introduce new solutions, how we will build the whole infrastructure, how we will travel in 3rd dimension. That was the part of Smart City panel. In mobility as a service, we were going from railways to car sharing, ride sharing, carpooling. Then we were discussing about on-demand shared mobility, and we ended with self-driving vehicles. That was mobility as a service. And the 3rd one was innovation. Innovation delivered by insurance company, fireside chat from Silicon Valley about how venture capital with startups in these after-COVID times. And we ended with Daimler discussing the cloud offering for the future of mobility. So it was a lot of information, and I'm quite excited about tomorrow. So tomorrow, 16th of September, we start at 9 o'clock. We will send you an email invite to enter, because you're already registered, to enter and follow the 2nd day. 2nd day will cover 2 topics. One will be autonomous marketplace, where we will discuss mainly about how 5G will boost in-car experience. We will talk about design, different offering, and different apps. And 2nd topic of tomorrow's day will be e-mobility. We will talk how to connect billions and billions of vehicles, things on electric network, and this will be shared by companies who are reshaping it. So it will be very interesting.
Thank you, Daniel, for all this day, and thank you all speakers, moderators, and of course, we couldn't have done it without you, dear guests of Mobility Summit 2020 City as a Lab. You are present from almost half of the globe, and we hope to see you tomorrow. We start, as Daniel said, at 9 a.m. Thank you and goodbye.
My first experience of Slovenia was so much more than I expected. Now that I've been here a few times, I know it might be small in size, but it's big in its achievements. Now I know Slovenia's economy is green, its people are creative, and their technological solutions are smart. Slovenia, a land of infinite potential with fantastic opportunities. Which one will you take?